Then they have put the fence up now. A big fence around the hotel. Marriott Hotel. It seems to have closed the area off around the hotel, as you can see. And in the front of the hotel. This is where we need to stand. A good view. Yeah, that's true. The fence here should have been here, that's what we was told. Yeah. But now the fence is here, beside the other fence, so we have double fence, as you can see. But the fence should have been here. And we could have walked the sidewalk here, but it seems we can't. I'm not sure.
You want to go over to cross the side?
Lige nu, der bliver vi opholdt af politiet her. Som vi skal have min kammerats adresse. Han er tysker. Men han har ikke lyst til at give dem det, og nu tror de mere, at de vil anholde ham også. Så det hedder mig med under al kritik, det her Gestapo-politi i Danmark efterhånden. Men sådan er systemet jo, det er derfor vi kæmper, selvom de faktisk må vågne op, for de har jo også familie, de mennesker her. Det er jo det, der er så sørgeligt. De mennesker her har også familie. Alligevel så tænker de ikke over det. Det er så sørgeligt, jeg kunne græde over det. As you can see, the police has now come. A lot of them. So they are prepared.
Det er sikkert forfærdeligt. Jeg kan ikke gøre noget ved det. Undskyld her betjenter og så videre. Skammer I ikke lidt over at beskytte dem? Har I ikke prøvet et eller andet i hjertet af, hvad I ved, hvordan I ved det der? skammer jeg ikke. Altså, det er virkelig ikke personligt, så bare skammer jeg ikke over.
Alle mennesker, det er insider trader. Okay? Det er insider trader.
Okay, men det er også fint om, at I er stadig politiet, og I beskytter dem jo. Jeg ved godt, at I har en anden dialogdragt på, men jeg synes bare stadig, det er... Altså, I gør bare jeres arbejde. Det er lidt det der problem med vores samfund. Alle passer bare deres arbejde på et snævre område. Og så er det dem, der styrer væk. Det er pyramide, ikke også? Og så resten af alle ordene bare ned igennem pyramiden. Og så er vi alle sammen hernede i gulvet. Det er os, der er flest. Og vi har ikke skidt at sagt, at det kommer et stykke med lige slag.
Så TV2 beskytter politiet åbenbart ved at sige, at vi ikke må være derude også, fordi de føler, det er deres lille rettergang. Det er deres egen lille gang, de må være derude, så TV2 står og giver politiet ret i, at vi ikke må være der. De kender ikke engang selv grundloven. TV2 åbenbart. Paragraf 77 og 79. De har splatteren hende.
Ja. Jeg kan spørge om igen. Jeg kender det. Det er ikke så meget. Vestbro. Ja, jamen jeg er her. Ja, jeg er tid, jeg er. Ja. Det er godt, det går.
Der kan man se, hvordan de har sat sådan nogle net op, så vi ikke kan kigge ind til dem der. Her. Så kan man undre sig over, hvad det er for en kaffeklub, der skal gemme så godt ind. Plus, at vi har fået dobbelthegn her, som man kan se. 2 hegn. Et fast et, der står normalt rundt om parkeringspladsen, vi har fået tildelt, men så har de sat så et ordentligt hegn op her. Så man kan se på en god del meter op. Plus, der er hegn op over på den anden side også. Plus et tæppe, som man ikke kan se ind. Så det er en god kaffeklub. Det er ikke en så seriøs kaffeklub, må man sige. Sikkert en kaffeklub, må man sige, hva'? Tænk over det, kære medmennesker, når I ser det. Det er, hvad de kalder en almindelig kaffeklub, der skal dække så godt ind med politi. Som man kan se herovre også. Og så kan man undre sig over, hvad det er for noget. Og hvem det er, de beskytter. Kaffedrikkere. Right.
Og til jer, der arbejder på borgen, i alle kajer for en NGO. Ja, så en flok, siger med at føre trop, men nu er folket ved at vågne op. Vi vil ikke tage lykkepiller, ikke mere farligt GMO. Nu rider hjernevast og børn har Ritalin. Agenten er bare helt til grin. Helle Thorning smitter Anders Fogh.
Gestapos nyeste våben komme. Det er Gestapos nyeste våben. Fuldstændig forrygt det der, mand. Hvad fanden er det for noget, det her, mand? Hvad så, politistat Danmark? Er I stolte? Det er det her, den danske befolkning skal leve under. Prøv lige at tjekke danske befolkning. Prøv lige at se det her udstyr, der står der. Kamera og alt. Larm, der sender lydbølger ud, så man får det dårligt og alt muligt. Det der, det er det sygeste våben. Det var det, der blev brugt i USA. Hvis man har set under G20 og G8-møderne, så er det sådan nogen, der bliver brugt der, når de skal skræmme folk væk, der larmer helt vildt. Det er total politikontrol, det der, så der ved noget. Man fej, var det klamt, det der. Hvad fanden sker der? Det æder man for dårligt, mand. Politikontrol! Lort nok!
See you today.
That's second, vi filmen igen.
Okay, good. It's a flyer because the Bilderberg Member we see in Denmark today to hold the meeting. And we please have to stop that. We have to say to the world what's happening here. So we are here to make up for what they're doing. They take the strings, they pull in the strings. It's not the state, it's not where you come from. It's the Bilderberg that control everything. So that's why we're here and why I give these flyers to you.
And you don't know what's happened.
Yeah, I know why they have a meeting, but we don't know what they have a meeting about. That's the problem. They're so close, they don't tell anything. So that's why. Så der er lidt ved at gå hjem og læse omkring det. Det er så vigtigt for dig, det er så vigtigt for de børn.
Er det ikke noget, vi kan tjene penge på?
Du er ikke høj nok på strå der.
Det er dem, der tjener penge på os. Det er problemet ligger. Det er desværre ikke. Hvad laver man? Hallo? Står herovre?
Bilderberg! Bilderberg people! What are you doing here in Copenhagen? Get out of our country!
Hvem var det?
Kommer. Er det ikke sådan noget, de dækker?
Jo, normalt har de også vel dække sådan noget, tror jeg.
Ja, ikke?
Jeg ved ikke, jeg har aldrig hørt om den der Kanal 5 før.
Hello, the global market group Bilderberg.
Hanna! Hanna!
Why are you coming? What about you, the global market Bilderberg?
Russisk TV er her for at filme det også.
For jer her. Hvor er det dejligt. Okay.
Ja,
tak for det.
Nu sætter jeg mig ned på diamanten og læser nogle andre sager.
Sådan, værsgo.
God dag.
I lige måde. Hello, the global mafia Bilderberg is here today. Please take one. For your future, it's very important. And for you, thank you very much.
Thank you, man.
Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Mit beskytter. Mundpolitiet ved, hvem de beskytter, når det er. Det tror jeg vist ikke helt. Tænk på, at de beskytter folk, der er med til at sælge ud af vores land, ud af andre lande for ressourcer og deres evige vækst. Har I ikke selv familie, kære politifolk, hva'? Tænk på jeres egen familie, hvordan I presses op i priser, måske også ned i løn, og hvordan systemet selv presser jer. Prøv lige at følge hjertet lidt, kære medmennesker. I er jo blot lakajer for eliten. Prøv at tænke over det. Og så står I bare og griner. Så sjovt er det ikke. Prøv at gå ind og undersøge Bilderberg. Tror I det er for sjovt, at Helle Thorning og Anders Fogh er Bilderberg og bagefter blev statsminister? Tror I det er tilfældigt? Tror I det er tilfældigt, at Anders Eldrup eller Fritz Schur er begge Bilderberg og lige har solgt ud af dammen? Er det for så tilfældigt, tror I? No way! Ja, det er de gået. Der kommer en film, tror jeg. Der kommer en film. Den kommer op nu derovre. Den holder nede i krydset, kan jeg se. Another Bilderberg is on the way. Please take notice. hånd op. Nu kommer det. Jamen, der kommer en bil nu, kan jeg se. Der kommer nogen nu.
Prøv at sætte jer ind i tingene, drenge. Folket har brug for det.
Kære politi, undersøg. Hvor fanden blev den bil af?
Sig det nu!
Sig mig, film jer!
Ikke så højt, ikke så højt.
Hey politi, de må godt filme der. Hey politi, de må godt filme derude, paragraf 77, 79 i grundloven siger det.
Hvad hedder grundloven på engelsk?
De gør ikke noget forkert.
De må godt filme derude, politi. Hey politiet, de må altså godt filme derude.
Well, actually, it has run out. My husband, I'm doing this camera. Well, you can totally look me up. I'm a magazine journalist. My husband has a press card. He's doing this for the dog. I'm doing photos as well.
Yeah, where are you?
And I've been the pictures editor of the colours. So much do you use more.
If you want to take pictures, you have to stay there.
No, det har de ikke brug for. De må godt stå derude. Paragraf 77 og 79 siger, at de godt må stå derude. Paragraf 77 og 79. Politiet er ved at bruge grundloven. Politiet er ved at bruge grundloven, kære medmennesker. Politiet er ved at bryde grundloven. Paragraf 77 i grundloven. Prøv at gå ind og læse den, og 79 i grundloven. Så vil I se, at det politiet gør nu er ulovligt. Politi, hvorfor bryder I grundloven? Hey. Police! Hello, policeman!
Okay, can I go in here?
Yeah, sure.
Can I go between those two?
You can stand, Hannah. Hannah, you can stand where you...
I do understand that we should...
You are allowed to film there, Hannah.
And if I happen to see something happen, I might... Thanks, that's a good compliment.
Yeah, no problem.
Vi kører om bagved.
Fuck you!
Hello, the global mafia group Bilderberg is here today. Please take one. Think about your future. The global mafia Bilderberg, please take one. Good.
Well, he knows.
Good.
One question, you can raise them? Sorry, can I? Is there a choice between people?
Hvad er det, du siger? Er du betalt af de derinde? Er du betalt af den sikkerhed? Er den betalt af de folk derinde? Hvad laver du så i en dansk uniform? Forræder! Undskyld. Politi, kan jeg lige få den der igen? Vil det sige, at I er betalt af de folk derinde, eller hvad? Er I betalt af de folk, der er derinde til Bilderberg-møde? Er det korrekt sagt, som du sagde før? At de betaler for jeres sikkerhed, så vil jeg godt spørge jer, hvad laver I dansk uniform ude foran her? Er det ikke landsforræderi og 5. kolonne virksomhed, han har det, eller hvad? Det er der en 5. kolonne virksomhed, at I er ansat af andre udlandske kræfter i Danmark. I dyrker 5. kolonne virksomhed. Hvad har I gang i? I er ansat af et privat firma uden for danske grænser.
Små, men jeg tror ikke på, der er ikke nogen, det er ikke nogen kander, det er ikke langt lidt skæg, det er energi det hele, ikke?
Ej, det tror jeg de fleste er forbi den der.
Jamen, de har jo fundet levende mekanismer eller noget, der minder om det på Mars, ikke?
Jo.
Ved du hvad de har fundet ud af alt det?
De 10.
Kom ind til siden, inden du bliver kørt ned.
Der er sgu lige glad.
Jamen. Jamen. Hvidhøje mand med kasket på.
Er det en sniper, de har liggende deroppe så?
Juntos. Juntos.
Go home!
Bilder!
Gestapo!
Bilderberg people go home! Leave Denmark now!
Nazister!
Leave Denmark now! Get out of our country!
That was pretty.
Who was it?
No more Bilderberg!
Queen of Spain.
The Queen of Spain.
Hey.
Det må ikke være rart at sidde.
Det er kissen. Ja, det er kissen, ikke?
En eller anden lille plat ugle.
Fuck New World Order!
Stop! Stop the New World Order!
Go home!
We do not want your new world order!
Er det lavere i før? Skal jeg lære en hyldetone? Jeg kan lære det rigtigt hyldetone. Jeg kan nok ikke høre det helt derovre.
Ah, det er det.
Fuck off, you motherfuckers!
Udveksling. De er flere. I hvert fald de er nok 10 op på taget, tror jeg.
Kan jeg have været eller andet?
Jeg kan tage en bærbar.
Det kunne det faktisk godt have lignet jer.
Altså det der ikke fejler noget i sådan en situation, det er kommunikationen derinde i hvert fald.
Ja, det må man sige.
Den er totalt job. Det kan da rart, det kan skætte ned, mand. Hallo.
Det er genialt. Hvor flader. Der er 3.
Det kommer der.
There were so many of them that took them like
En masse slipse derovre på den der. Ja, det var sådan derovre, ja.
Go home!
Woo!
personligt, fordi jeg bliver fyret fra min job hver gang.
Der er en sniper, den ligger der.
Men nu er folket ved at vågne op. Vi vil ikke tage lykkepiller. Ikke mere farlig GMO. Du rydder hjernevask og børn på Ritalin. Agenten, den er bare helt til grin. Thorning smitternes for. Minister er de blevet begge to. De gik til Bilderberg og solgte deres sjæl til Rockefeller og hans dynasti. Nu en tak til jer, der redder verden. Tak fordi I kommer kæmpende. Vi er mange, de er få, og derfor skal det gå. Så I har hjertet på det rette sted. Jeg kunne ikke holde mig. Mange fri. Syng den højt, så alle kan forstå. For der er sjovt. All the money and the wealth was stolen from the man's grave. A bunch of Nazi pigs they are, just for the envy brave. Hitler, he was just a puppet for the new world order. His ideas were never really his. Bush and Obama is the same side of this story. Will we ever learn our lessons? Will we ever free ourselves? United Nations wants to kill you. It's the documents. History repeats itself. The evil never ends. Now let's all just march into a fever camp today. Please let me just load a pistol and blow my brains away. After all, that's what we're doing almost every day. When we use my screen or lane, that's Mercury and aspartame, I know the names sounds plain, but after all that's said and done, it's making me insane!
You have a valid perspective.
Well, I pay my bloody, sorry, swearing, but I'm paying the NUJ. I'm a member of the National Union of Journalists. And also I've been in contact with Alison, and I've given him all our credentials and everything. He's taken this is my fifth Bilderberg conference doing pictures for it for his thing for the Guardian newspaper of London. So yeah, we're doing. And we're not, but also you have to understand that some of the people do have blogs and they're the alternative media. This is not me, no. but these people are press too, because we don't have so much media covering this conference, but the internet, people are reporting and then they have their blogs and they're very passionate about the news as well. So sometimes, if people don't have a press card, they're still reading.
We're trying to, just do as possible.
And you have been, yeah, very good. Yeah, I've been in contact with him a couple of weeks before coming here, because I was the one I wanted to speak to him about provisions for the press.
Just out of interest.
Det er et møde for Bilderberg-gruppen. En gruppe, som blandt andet menes at være dem, der sørgede for, at Bill Clinton han kom ind i det ovale værelse, altså blev USA's præsident. Nogle mener, at det er dem, der bestemmer oliepriserne rundt om i verden. og andre siger, at det også var dem, der havde en finger med i spillet omkring Mohammed-krisen. Der er mange teorier om den her Bilderberg-gruppe, som rigtig mange af os måske ikke aner, hvad er. Men det ved du, Luke Rudowski. Du er forsker inden på Københavns Universitet, forsker i det, der hedder internationale elite-netværk. Og sådan må man sige, at Bilderberg-gruppen er.
Ja, det må man sige. De har været pionerer på området, og har ligesom dannet skole for en masse andre, der siden er kommet til.
Og hvad er Bilderberg-gruppen?
Jamen, det er jo en årlig konference, hvor der mødes ca. 150 mennesker fra henholdsvis Nordamerika og Europa, og det er så ikke hvem som helst, der kan blive inviteret, men det er altså folk, der sidder på topposter inden for økonomi, altså erhvervsliv, banker, finansverden og også inden for politik og i meningsdannelse, så det kan også være chefredaktør eller andre, der har en vigtig post.
Og nu er det altså i København, og man kan se inden foran Marriott-hotellet, i hvert fald på billederne her, hvordan der kører den ene sorte bil op efter den anden med disse vigtige personer. Hvem er det, der afgør, hvem der kan få lov til at sidde med i denne her Bilderberg-gruppe?
Ja, altså, de har et lille sekretariat og en lille ledelseskomité, som ligesom tager sig af organisationen sådan, på en årlig basis, men altså, de har kun den her ene aktivitet om året, så det er ikke fordi, de har en stor organisation. Så har de så en organisator i hvert land, der ligesom tager sig af inviterer, og i Danmark er det så 2 personer, der bliver inviteret hvert år, og i år, fordi det er i København, jamen, så er der så 7 danskere med, så der er lidt flere med, end der plejer. Så det er sådan, de fungerer ganske uformelt og stille og roligt.
Du skal også snakke lidt om, hvad det så er, de gør. Altså, hvor meget har de at bestemme, og hvorfor er det, de mødes på den her måde. Men lad os lige først prøve at kigge på nogle af de danskere, der har været med. Helle Thorning, hun har været med. Og er det vigtigt, at man så statsleder med i den her gruppe?
Jamen altså, hun var med, før hun blev statsminister, men ellers er det meget typisk, at når Bilderberg kommer til et land og holder møde, så kan det typisk være statsminister, der byder dem velkommen og ligesom siger god for mødet, ikke? På en måde. Og der var hun også inviteret i år og kunne så ikke deltage. Men det er meget typisk, at der deltager ledende ministre, altså det kan være statsminister, det kan være udenrigsminister, det kan være finansminister, typisk dem, der vil deltage, og så en gang med også nogle andre.
Tidligere har også Uffe Ellemann været med, Thyre Seidenfarten, der er chefredaktør, og Anders Fogh, han er med i år. Ja. Og hvorfor inviterer man ham hjem? Han er NATO-chef, han har helt meget skulle have sagt.
Ja, han er NATO-chef, og i år der diskuterer blandt andet krisen i Ukraine, altså Rusland-Ukraine, problematikken der. Og der er han jo selvfølgelig en vigtig person at have med siden der ved bordet, og måske holder han et oplæg om hvordan NATO ser på den krise. Det kunne jeg godt forestille mig.
Og det ved du, at vi skal snakke om Ukraine. Ja. Og jeg spørger på den måde, så er det fordi, der ikke er så meget indlægskrammer rundt om det her, men ikke kender dagsordnerne, for det har man for heller ikke noget at vide. Hvad er det, de gør, den her gruppe?
Jamen altså, fra starten af så skabte de det her rum, hvor de ligesom kunne have en fortrolig debat. Så en af reglerne det er, at når man deltager på Bilderberg, så citerer man ikke de andre for bestemte synspunkter, der bliver udtrykt under konferencen. Og det er så for at anspore at kunne have en mere fri debat, end man har, hvis pressen kigger over skulderen. Det man måske kan sige, det er jo, at i den grad er det for vores folkevalgte politikere, der sidder der, eller vores statsminister eller andre, så kan man jo godt blive måske lidt bekymret, hvad de siger på vores vegne. Ikke? Og der har de så sådan en lille formalitet, der hedder, at de inviterer folk som privatpersoner. Det vil sige, at folk er der som privatpersoner. De er der ikke som statsminister eller leder for et stort multinational virksomhed. Men der viser forskningen så, den jeg og mine kolleger har lavet, at når de så sidder der og taler, så er det jo ikke altid, de taler bare privat. De taler selvfølgelig i kraft af den stilling, de har. Det er også derfor, de bliver inviteret på grund af, at de sidder på en toppost. Så man kan godt stille spørgsmålstegn ved, hvor privat foretagning er.
Og de diskuterer, og de refererer ikke for møder, men de stiller ikke op til pressen bagefter og fortæller om, hvad de har snakket om. Beslutter de noget? Og kan de udføre noget? Nu fik jeg sagt, at i starten var teorier om, at det var dem, der sørgede for at blive Clinton, eller det er dem, der styrer oliepriserne på det internationale marked. Er det så?
Sådan er det ikke. Altså, det er jo ikke en verdensregering, der sidder og styrer ting bag kulissen. De styrer ikke rigtig noget, men det de gør, det er, at de sætter nogle agendaer, og de påvirker hinanden, og de drøfter nogle ting, og på den måde er de med til måske at definere, de udfordringer, vi som samfund står overfor. Det er i hvert fald en af deres det er ligesom at bygge en konsensus op i de her elitekreds omkring, hvad for nogle udfordringer vi står overfor, og hvordan skal de løses. Og det er jo en vigtig magt at have, dem der kan sætte agendaen, dem der kan være med til at definere, hvad det er for nogle problemstillinger, vi andre diskuterer, som er vores problemer som samfund. Og der har de en indflydelse, ligesom andre elite-netværk. Og der tror jeg, hvis man kigger på Bilderberg, men også mange andre af de her slags lignende netværk, der indgår de altså i en større gråzone, som påvirker regeringer, og det gør de i kraft af, at de jo er, og de har meget indflydelsesrige mennesker, der sidder.
Men det kan jo godt bekymre mig. Jeg tænker, at vi er jo demokratisk valgte lande, både altså i Europa og USA, Hvorfor skal man have sådan noget? Er det ikke udemokratisk at sætte alle mulige erhvervsledere og politikere sammen og sige, at nu sidder vi lige og tænker hele ud, hvordan vi skal gøre det næste år på det internationale politiske landskab?
Jo, altså alle har ret til at mødes privat, og det er jo ligesom deres markat på vel, ikke?
Men de kører op i deres limousiner her.
Og i den grad, de taler på vegne af dem, de repræsenterer, så kan man selvfølgelig stille spørgsmål, hvor demokratisk det egentlig er, ikke? Når de taler på vores vegne. Og der mener jeg jo, at der er et demokratisk underskud, ikke? At Bilderberg ligesom repræsenterer en elite, der lukker sig om sig selv, fordi det er de samme mennesker, der bliver inviteret, ikke? Det er jo, hvis du har en toppost inden for erhvervslivet, det er jo, hvis du har en toppost inden for bankverdenen eller inden for politik, ikke? Så der kan man sige, at det er jo ikke slagteriarbejderne på Bornholm, ikke? De har jo ikke en repræsentant på mødet, der kan ligesom gøre opmærksom på, hvad for problemer de møder til dagligt.
Åbenheden omkring Bilderberg-gruppen er, at de i virkeligheden viser, hvordan verden måske i virkeligheden er skruet sammen, nemlig at dem med penge har mere skulle have sagt, end man lige kunne tro.
Og der kan man sige, at der er mange andre interesseorganisationer, der også forsøger at påvirke regeringen med deres agendaer og deres måde at tænke over problemer og løsninger på. Men der er Bilderberg bare det særlige, at det er meget magtfulde mennesker, der mødes, så derfor har de en uforholdsmæssigt stor potentiale for at påvirke regeringen. Ikke? Altså, de har også en mulighed for at sætte tingene på forsiden af, eller skrive en leder i avisen dagen efter, når de kommer hjem fra Bilderberg-mødet, ikke? Eller lignende. Så det er jo der, hvor de har en større mulighed for at påvirke samfundsdebatten, end vi andre normalt har. Og der kan man godt sige, at der mangler noget, man kan spørge sig selv, hvor repræsentativt er det, ikke? Når det er sådan en lille elite, der mødes bag lukkede døre, og de sociale bevægelser, eller fagbevægelsen eller andre, er sådan set ikke rigtig repræsenteret eller inviteret.
De sidder i disse dage og drikker kaffe og holder møde og diskuterer verdenssituationen på Copenhagen. Der er 7 danskere repræsenteret, blandt andet fra erhvervslivet, Carlsberg-fonden, Halter Topsø og så videre. De nu pludselig tusind tak for besøget for at gøre stilsang kloge på Bilderberg.
Det er ikke damer, I skal sidde og kigge på det op. Husk det. Bilderberg Group, come out with your hands up. You are all under arrest. We are making a civil arrest on your ass. Come out with your hands up now, or go to the top of the roof and jump off if you want population reduction. You are not human. You are evil scum. We are humans. We are free. You are slaves. You are slaves to your own mindset. You are slaves because you cannot feel love.
Okay, er du klar med lyd? Are you guys ready? I hører ikke nu. I hører ikke. Jeg er klar. Du er klar? Yes. You guys ready? Ja. Lyd kører. Kamera kører. Bilderberg, Luke, første gang. Kom her, og Morten, værsgo.
Proof that our government is not public, it's not formed by the people, it's sold to the highest bidders, and the highest bidders are meeting inside with our so-called elected representatives, and they're doing the bidding of the very few instead of everybody else.
So, you see Bilderberg as being some kind of elite or a tool? How do you see Bilderberg on the side?
Well, Bilderberg is one of many groups, secret societies, organizations of people who collude together. Obviously, when two people of common interest and similar statues come together, they obviously want to benefit themselves. They're obviously not talking about their golf swings in there. You know, when you have people from the NSA, IBM, Facebook, Google, Goldman Sachs, military-industrial complexes, oil oligarchs, kings and queens, and our politicians meeting together, what do you think is going to happen? And you know, you see it play out throughout politics. Politics is not really a representation of the people, but a representation of who could buy off the most politicians with the most amount of money and interest in public goals. And obviously, we know the goals of powerful people. It's to have more power. Yeah, I mean, there's many different sources of different information that has come out. A lot of the times, it's these people who brag about their accomplishments, like David Jan in the EU Observer, about how it was this secretive group that helped create the euro. Obviously, one local currency, less currencies that are independent of the Federal Reserve Bank, a private bank, is in the benefit of the very few. We know from other sources that missile defense strategies against Russia were decided with Condoleezza Rice. You know, at meetings like this, we know that other representatives have spoke out and said whatever is discussed here, they have to implement in their specific spheres when it comes to policy. So there's all these little tidbits just off the top of my head, but if people do their own research, I bet they can find more.
What examples do you have of other groups like Bilderberg, so you know what to look for out there?
Well, there's so many. Whether it's the CFR, Trilateral Commission, and all these other organizations that don't get that much attention. I think this one gets as much attention as it does because the way they protect themselves and garner themselves and secure themselves with all this theater show, with all this insecurity, I think that's why there's a lot of attention put on these guys. But there's so many other ones off the top of my head, I can't really list all of them because there's too many.
Some would say that it's actually a good idea that the world's leaders are meeting on a hotel level, so they can have a peaceful chat about the world, and we can make a peaceful world like that, so we don't have a third world war. What would you say to that?
I don't think it's a peaceful chat when the military-industrial complex is inside of there, when arms dealers are inside of there, when oil oligarchs are inside of there, when Goldman Sachs is inside of there. Those key corporate interests, those key groups never talk about peace, because peace is not profitable. They can't make money off peace. They make money off food. They make money off, you know, the scarcity of national resources. They make money off, you know, creating banker bailouts. You know, these people collude together, and obviously, I mean, look at what's been happening in our political system. Do you think politicians, especially in the U.S., want peace? Do you think it's been profitable for them to have peace? No, it's been profitable for them to have the Iraq War, to have the banker bailouts in 2008, because it only benefited the few people that are inside. They're looking out for their own interests, obviously. They're colluding together, common interest, obviously. So what makes you think it's a good idea?
I don't think it's a good idea.
You're just playing devil's advocate.
Yeah, I have to ask the question.
Yeah.
Because it looks very good on camera when you get that, when you give that answer. So you have a message to your fellow beings when it comes to Bilderberg and all these closed societies. Is the message you want to get out to your fellow beings?
To them or to the individuals watching? Nothing happens without our acceptance of it, without our compliance in it. We have a lot of power as individuals to make small decisions in our lives, and if we all decide to make them ethically and wisely, we can also make them more. But it all depends on yourself believing that. A lot of the power that these guys have comes from fear, comes from anger, comes from negative emotions, and you know, don't let these people take away your happiness. Don't let these people take away your positivity. Don't let these people make you inactive. You know, wake yourself up to what's happening, understand what's happening, but understand that really everything that's happening is only because of you and you allowing it. If we all make small decisions, if we all come together, if we all put our differences aside, we can do anything, and nothing is impossible.
You have some small steps that one will take.
Yeah. Find out what you love to do. I love to make videos. I love to take photos, so I concentrate on that. If you do music, if you do art, you know, have it a representation of yourself. Don't be afraid to speak your truths. Don't deny yourself to who you really are because of other people's circumstances. There's a lot of self-censorship when it comes to individuals. They rock the boat and stir the pot, and they don't want to create controversy, but just be honest with yourself. Find what you love and use it as an outlet to express yourself. If you know that bad things are happening in this world, there's so many different avenues: music, art, you know, activism, multimedia that you can engage in to not only wake people up to what's happening, but also bring them together to avoid problems that these people create.
So, you've been here for 3 days now in Denmark. What do you think of this event so far?
The Bilderberg event?
Yeah, the demonstration, the event down here.
Yeah, well, what we're seeing behind us is a big theater. It's a big play. It's these guys, you know, having their little military boats and their helicopters and their guns, and they're able to play with it, and it's a big theater play. It's a big theater show of how scared these guys are of regular human beings. We're here non-violently, peacefully trying to, you know, awake people, educate people, show people what's going on, and this is their reaction. So this shows you exactly what's happening. They violated the Danish law here and arrested me. They violated their own policies. You know, they are on orders of these elitist groups to do whatever they can to stop people from even questioning them, and that's what we do. We don't raise any theories. We don't raise any speculations. All we're here to do is find out what's happening from these guys. And when I asked them inside what's happening, they arrested me under false pretenses.
Could you say a little more about that? There was a clip that went around Facebook and YouTube.
Well, we were here before the conference started, and some of the Bilderberg organizing committee was here. We were at the same restaurant, and they sat next to us. So I came up to them saying, "Hey, how you ladies doing? You know, can we talk? Can we have a conversation? Can I buy you some drinks?" And they tried to deny that they were even the Bilderberg Organizing Committee, even though we had pictures of them in 2012, and they're the same exact individuals. They said, "No, we don't want to talk." I said, "Fine." I walked away, and that's when security came and detained us illegally, tried to delete our footage, which is private intellectual property, which people cannot delete. They tried to confiscate our cameras. They deleted other journalists who were there inside. They deleted their footage. We said no. Because we said no, they manhandled us. They roughed us up. They wouldn't let us leave. They locked the doors. And then I was able to run away, but my friend wasn't. So I stood behind as they detained my friend illegally. And these are Bilderberg security guards. These are not people with any authority here in Denmark. And then the police came. They told us to stop filming, which is illegal here. They ripped off the camera off my neck because I wouldn't stop filming. They ripped off another camera, and they tried to say that we were arrested for possession of drugs as soon as the cameras were off. And then,
of course, you had no drugs.
Yeah, and here in Denmark, of course, yeah. Here in Denmark, you know, you're supposed to give your name, your birthday, and your address only to the police. They demanded ID. When we didn't present ID, then they said, "Okay, we're going to arrest you for not showing ID," which is illegal, which is not even a law here. And then they pretty much took us to jail, and the official charge was suspicious activity, which I don't even think is an official charge here or an official law here. That, you know, you're being suspicious that they have to arrest you and put you in jail here. So that's what they did. You know, the story went everywhere, all over the internet, and I think it's really because of the people who were watching, who were supporting us, who were following us on Twitter and on YouTube and on Facebook. The only reason that we were able to get out is because of this support that we had from the internet.
Godt.
Ja,
Second.
Well, in the United States, we have a democratic republic. You know, democracy is usually two wolves and a sheep deciding what's for dinner. But with our representative government, it obviously is not representing the people. It's representing Goldman Sachs. It's representing Google. It's representing IBM. It's representing spying on everybody, creating wars, creating problems, and making the rich richer and the poor poorer. It's a corporatocracy. That's what it really is. It's a plutocracy, a government run for and by the rich, and it's no more exemplified than it is with the Bilderberg group.
Do you have any hope for this events like this?
Well, my only hope is to bring as much attention to what's happening behind us, because the mainstream media is not doing their job. Independent reporters who are out here who are being harassed, intimidated, and arrested for doing their job or just asking a question. These people are here trying to make sure people understand what really is happening behind these closed doors. So I hope a lot more people hear about this. I hope a lot more people know about this. I hope a lot more people depend less on the mainstream media, because they see the mainstream media in their comfy little offices and their nice little studios just talking crap behind you know, their doors. They're not here. They're not going through the same things we're going through. So I hope people understand that independent citizen journalism is where the future is going into, and that really supporting it, watching it, sharing it is going to be the future of free information distribution. And then I also hope the people who come here are able to meet and talk and collaborate together on helping each other out, instead of just focusing on what these guys are doing. We should focus on what we're going to be doing together. Thank you very much. No problem.
Kærlighed, politi. Ja. Sjov ord, der matcher sammen. Eller matcher det sammen. Det burde det jo næsten gøre. Kærlighedspoliti. Er det det nye politi?
Der er også badges på foran, du.
Det
er en af de gode, vi har her. Pas på os.
Dejligt at se. The Danish policeman.
Sådan.
A Danish policeman.
Tak for det.
That is cool to see. Thank you very much. Old school camera. From Switzerland. An artist from Switzerland that will make an info about Bilderberg and try to put it up in an artist way. Very great idea.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Meget lidt højere.
Can you hear me now?
Ja. Okay.
Listen, I just want to say thank you for coming here. I'm not used to talk like this, and I'm very sorry that I'm late because we were supposed to be at 4 o'clock. I was held up because I promised to do some interviews, and which I've done, but I was delayed. That's the reason. Much done. And one of the things I said when I said yes to the invitation to come here was that I will do whatever is necessary to make this a better place for us all. I would prefer not to give speeches and especially not with these type of things. And here I am giving a speech with one of these to nobody, to still stand up for what is true and right, even though it's shit scary from time to time. And so somehow I got it in my genes, I think, from listening to all of these stories and so on. And then in Sweden, when I grew up, I started working as a journalist. And in the early 1980s, for some reason, I become very, very interested in the JFK assassination. I think I read a couple of hundred books. I got almost obsessed with trying to find out what was really going on, because that was the first time that I understood that we're being fed absolute lies when it comes to many of these conspiracies.
Yeah.
And so I started with JFK. That made me more and more interested in the Martin Luther King assassination. And now somebody is calling me. Turn it off. And anyway, JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Malcolm X, Abraham Lincoln, and so on. And after a while, I started seeing that it was almost like these assassinations were carried out according to a template. They were done in different ways on a street level, the killing of the person, but the whole cover-up, the whole setup was almost following a template. And when I studied the old Romans, I found out that they were actually the ones that came up with these methods that have just been used and again and again and again. And one of them is, it's called problem, reaction, solution. That you secretly, the people in power, secretly create a problem to get a reaction from the public to accept the solution, which will be served to us from the same people that carried out the problem. And this problem is very, very often in the form of some kind of terror act, assassination, and so on. And so here we are again. I mean, my dad, he was not far from here. He was a military guy, based in the resistance movement, fighting very hard to liberate Denmark from the Nazis. We study history. You see after the Second World War that the same power that was actually behind the whole Nazi war machine and behind the whole Second World War and the First World War are still active. The exact same power elite. And the agenda is still being carried out. Now it's in a more modernized form, but by the same families, by the same power elite, by the same groups. One of these parts are behind us here. And I just want to say that I come in love, I come in peace. I'm not here to spread fear, anger, hate, whatever. I'm here to meet people without uniform, friends. I'm here to meet friends with uniform. I'm here to meet friends from the elite if they choose so. Because I would say that even though they're carrying out horrendous acts, absolute horrendous acts, I mean, when you look at it, the agenda behind it, they are super criminals. Hard words, but that's what they are. And they're damaging the rest of humanity in an awful way. I'm here to judge the sin, not the sinner. And it is very important for me that that is where I come from. Because if you go into their game, which is violence, which is terror, which is a lot of atrocities against humanity, if you're in their ball game, if you join that, they will just hit back so much harder, because this is their game. So I would say that way to enter and meet these powers is by transparency. Expose them. Show what is going on. Shine the light on them. Expose the dark corners and aim the spotlight at them, saying, we see you. You have been doing this for decades and decades, getting away with it because we have not been aware of it. You've been controlling us from a point where most of us have had absolutely no idea what's going on. But that time is over. And at this point, I've been doing this for 30 years. I had people killed around me. I had friends murdered. I had to leave Sweden because of my investigation into the Palme assassination. Because I've been exposing that to an extreme extent, I would say. I've written a book called Coup d'etat in slow motion, where I name all the people involved, names, pictures, documents, whatever, it's all there. And the people that I've been part of exposing, because it's not a Swedish assassination, it is a global, it comes from people part of this or higher that were behind that assassination. It's the exact same power that was behind JFK, Martin Luther King, Robert Kennedy, Robert Smith in South Africa, Carlos Prats in Argentina, Salvador Allende, Che Guevara, John Lennon, Bob Marley, indirectly because he was slowly murdered, which most people are not aware of. It's the same power elites that have done this and are still carrying it out because so many of us are still asleep. So I have dedicated my life to try to make this a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful world. The world that it's supposed to be. If you look at nature, it's designed for absolute harmony, balance, everything of these things. That's what life is about. And that's what we are here to learn, to live in peace and harmony, side by side, brothers and sisters. And then there's this small little bully, I would say, like a bully in a schoolyard, that are messing this whole planet up. And when you look upon this group, I mean, it's ridiculous how we let us control by them. They are maximum 2,000–3,000 people in total, and we are 7 billion. I mean, come on, guys. It's a joke. And I just want to say, if you can please study this building here. Is it filled with people? No. There are a few people. I don't even know if they're here, if this is a decoy, because the whole thing sucks. I mean, security-wise, this is not the place they would do it. I totally believe that this is a total decoy, and they're having dinner somewhere else, nothing else. But I truly enjoy this because it doesn't matter for me if they're there or wherever they're hiding in the shadows, because there's not a lot of courage going on in their area, I would say. No balls. The balls are on this side. And anyway, if you check out the size of this building and look how few people are in there, this is one of the 3 major groups in the world, the so-called one of the most powerful groups in the world. Then you see the size of the building. If you compare that to the size of Copenhagen, that is a tiny building. If you compare Copenhagen to the size of Denmark, Copenhagen is a tiny part. That is even smaller. Copenhagen, Europe, that is ridiculous. Europe to the world, it's an absolute joke. It's an absolute joke that we are letting them do. We should just laugh and go away and say, you create your wars, we're not going. I want a beer and a party and let's enjoy this. You know? So, okay, well, I really do not like this sound, but apparently it's my voice that sounds from there. I feel schizophrenic now because I can hear a voice in my head. And it's not mind controlled, at least I hope so. Anyway, so I say, brothers and sisters, time to wakey, wakey, wakey up. And you are the symbol of the future, I would say, because we are here. You are one of the few that are awake here at this point. But I tell you, I am super optimistic. Because this is 30 years down the road. Like I said, I've gone through absolute hell, like most of the truth seekers. Luke is one over here that knows what it's up about. I mean, It is a scary, scary road to walk. There's a lot of people that are not with us anymore that have had to pay a high price, getting their total lives destroyed, their credibility, or that have lost their lives. So. But at this point, I think there's an incredible awakening going on a global scale. I mean, in the early days, when I met David Icke, for instance, the first time, that was in '89 or something like that. We were 88 people. I think there's even more people here now that were there listening. Nobody knew anything. And now look at him filling Wembley, and like there's 1 million people visiting his website every week, and he's just one of so many incredible, beautiful, courageous people that are just saying, listen, we've had enough. We're not buying this crap anymore. We're not buying these false flags. I mean, come on. In the old days, at least you had some kind of dignity, some kind of budget, some kind of planning, but it's getting ridiculous. I mean, you use actors and stage, you even use the same actors so that you can keep it in a small group. So one is blown up in one, and then suddenly he's alive and a witness in the next one. The same sheriff in the Boston bombing and the Sandy Hook. I mean, at least change person. Give him a different hat. No, same police officer, same name tag, 3 different states. Come on, it's below you. Sometimes I felt, you know, around the Palme assassination, it is so badly done. The evidence so manipulated in such an incredibly low quality way. Good for someone like me, because it stands out very easy. I mean, at least get the day right, or the date right, or something like that. You know, if one of us would try to get away with a thing like that, at least we would put some effort into making it credible. But these guys know that they will never, they think that they're untouchable, so they don't put a lot of effort into it. So at one point I felt I'm going to go to the secret police in Sweden and just say, listen guy, hire me, I know what to look out for, I know to keep track of what I would look for, so you could use me, at least I could do a good job. I did not mean that seriously, going to them, but at least, come on, this is ridiculous. And that we are buying it, that is an absolute disgrace, I would say, and an absolute joke. Do you know, like the Palme assassination, the death certificate, they didn't even get the address right. They put a street number that doesn't even exist. It's like, well, what to say. So here we are, and if it's okay with you, I would just like to read the lyrics from a song that I wrote in 97. I'm not a singer, so I'm going to read it. But I think it's something that is valid to this very day. And at one point, I would like if you could please help me. And you go, yeah. That's when I will put my hand up, because that's where we are now. Is that okay? Can I have a little yay?
Yeah!
Well, if you want to listen, come closer. I was born with a voice that's not very loud, but I try to make my actions be louder. Okay, it's called From Prison to Paradise, inspired by Mr. David Icke. I do not agree with everything he stands for, but that is a strong and very brave man that has done an incredible amount of work. So I salute his bravery. Yep. He is one of the ones. I don't know about reptiles, all of these things. I don't care. Whatever truckload that he has been pulling, I salute him. Anyway, it's called From Prison to Paradise. Here we go. Are you ready, by the way?
Yeah.
Yeah. Once upon a time, that's not now. Once upon a time, in a place not far from here, there was so much loneliness, despair, and oh so much fear. Darkness ruled all over the land, there was lightning in the sky, causing wars and separation, with no one knowing why. These evil times raised leaders, disguised as kind and true, hiding the true in misty fog, so only very few people knew. Yeah! No, that's not the yeah. Controlled by an elite few, manipulating you and me, closing out the light and power that can make us all be free. And then the chorus is, wake up, we gotta wake up. Wake up, we gotta wake up now.
Good, has everybody got that one? Anybody bring some guitars?
Yeah, okay. Forced by an invisible powers, demanded to conform into shapes unknown to mankind, making him totally abnormal. Drowned in debts and sorrows, blaming others for their lot, made man believe to be inferior, feeling tiny like a dot. But then came time of change. Yeah! Covering countries and their towns. Yeah! Few became many. Yeah! And soon the prison walls came down. Yeah! Starting with the man in the mirrors, staring right back into their eyes. Yeah! understanding that this was a chance to stop those hideous lies.
Yeah!
Unhappiness is merely an illusion of misery, based on brainwash and a misconception of true reality. From now on, let's build bridges between our souls and hearts, so we together can rejoice when the final change comes to a start.
Yeah.
Yeah! Wake up, we gotta wake up. I think you got the chorus. Wake up, we gotta wake up. Okay. Turning prison into paradise may seem too much to achieve, but believe me, it only takes one strong spirit to be free.
Yeah!
The true power of a pyramid is never ever at the top.
Yeah!
Instead, it's we the people that can make this global game stop. Did you get it?
Yeah!
Wake up, it's wakey time.
Yeah! Woo!
Hold your horses. Okay, so one of the questions that I get asked all the time is that I'm not talking about me, but they say, I'm not a person that can totally devote my life into exposing these type of things. I'm not somebody who has the knowledge or know what to do. So what can I do as a person? My suggestion would be that one of the ways they control us is by fear. They're trying to push us down so we get fearful, depressed, low in energy, selfish, all of these type of things, so that we will be easier to control. This thing with love, it's not just a new age wee type of spaced out thing, according to me. I think a guy like Jesus was kind of like a super hacker when it came to the matrix that we're living in. He understood, and many others like Buddha and Muhammad and all of these people, what they said was, whatever the problem, love is the answer. And if you look in a laboratory, the frequency that we call love is the highest of the highest. It's higher than the frequency of thoughts and these things. Very, very high. The fear frequency is the lowest of the lows. Pure terror, that's the lowest of the low. You put the two together in a laboratory, what happens? Do they meet in the middle and start fighting and meet like that? No. It's amazing what happens, because you let the two meet and boom, the lower one just gets annulled. It just disappears. It's just like you go into a dark room, you find the switch, the dark is there, oh my god, I'm fearful of the dark. Boom, you put on the light, it's gone. There's no struggle, the shadows don't say I'm not leaving, it's gone. This is the way to deal with problems, I would say. And I listened to people that knew what they were talking about, like Jesus and other hackers like that, who cracked the code, saying whatever they're trying to push on us, meet it with a higher frequency. Meet it with a higher frequency, and this frequency has been named love. It's not love, I fancy you, baby. If you are nice to me and do things that I appreciate, then I will love you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the power of that frequency. And that frequency has an immense, it's unbelievable, it's almost a miraculous thing. I've been in war zones, I've been in Iran during the war, I've been in Lebanon and these type of things. I've seen what happens when you are in a threatened position. If somebody puts a gun to your head, or starts screaming or approaching you or trying to scare you, intimidate you, if you buy into their game by being fearful, the chances of you getting hurt are very big. It very often escalates into something very negative. If you are able to focus on the higher frequency, what works for me is this word divine. I know it sounds too spaced out for people, but that's the one that works for me. So if somebody starts shouting to, I met this beautiful police officer the other day. He wanted to arrest me because I walked down the street here for absolutely no reason. He said, "Can you please give me your name?" I said, "Absolutely not." And it just kept on. We had a very, very nice, calm conversation. He said, "Well, I'm going to put you in I'm going to arrest you and I'm going to take you from it." I said, "Fine. So you have to tell me your name?" I said, "Absolutely not." And but then he said, "But then I'm the authority and I need to arrest you." I said, "Okay." And then we had sort of like not a staring game, because I looked in his eyes. He was a gentleman. He was a police captain. Nice, very nice man. There was a young guy as well. No fit. I mean, I met killers. I tracked down assassins. I have been shit scared because there's some people where there's no light in their eyes. They are dangerous people. Okay. These people, very, very nice. They just had a uniform. Absolutely no idea who they were protecting. Okay, so I said, listen, Mr. Nice Policeman, you know, if you want to, you're welcome to arrest me, but it would be a bit of a waste of time, because what happened is you will arrest me, we will go down to the police station, you will give me a cup of coffee, you will say, give me your name, I will say no, and then you will say, okay, then I will fine you. I'll say, okay, fine, if that is what you want, and then you won't get my name, but you will get my money, and then you will, if you're a kind policeman, which I think you are, you will drive me back here and I can continue my walk. Absolute waste of time. Okay, so he did not really know how to deal with it. Listen, if I'm talking about frequencies, because if I had said, piss off you horrible, I would have been arrested directly, they would have hit me in the head, whatever, I don't know what dragged me off, or not the way to deal. So he was getting confused here because I was focusing in my head, divine, he's my brother, he's somebody's son, he's the father of somebody. Listen, I'll give you a hug if you want, because I really like you. Anyway, in my mind, I did not say that to him, because he was saying, you're in a police state, and I have the right to get your identity. You have no right, give me your name, or I will put you in jail. If I'd gone into this game, I would have lost. Okay, so I was not going there, so I thought, divine, 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 I'm absolutely not giving you my name, just so you know, divine, divine, divine. Okay, so we had this, not a staring game, but almost. We looked into our eyes, I think 1-2 minutes. While we were doing that, he had nice eyes, kind eyes, and while we were doing that, there was people starting to gather around, some of them press and so on, and also there were other people that walked by. And I said, well, why don't you stop him? Why don't you stop him? No, because I'm the authority and this is not a game and it's not up to you to ask questions. You should just give me your name and be quiet. Okay. And then one of my friends said, but on what grounds would you arrest this man? He was just walking down the street. And he said, paragraph 750. I would very much like to ask a policeman afterward if there is such a paragraph, because I said, paragraph 750, and he was like, he couldn't really stop smiling, because I think, I got a feeling that he just made it up because it sounded really cool. But anyway, I said, okay, 750, that's the one. And that, he says, that rule says that if you're in Denmark, the police comes up to you and say, you have to give me your name, address, and date of birth. Okay, that's the law, otherwise you will be arrested. I said, last time I was in Denmark, it was not a police state, so it's not going to happen. Anyway, so we looked at each other for a while. He was getting a bit confused, and also he was getting a bit stressed because people around him were starting to ask questions. And so I thought, okay, in one way I chicken out. I'm not really 100% proud of what I did. But what I said was, let's do it like this. Do you know who you're protecting in here? He said, no. I said it's the Bilderberg group. It's an elite group that is messing this world up. I'm making this story better than it was actually, but I'm just adding a little here there. So, anyway, now I lost it. So he said, I don't know, but I said, actually, the people in here have been meeting, many of the members, since the mid-50s, having a secret agenda, absolutely messing this world up for the rest of us, you included, you and your children. So I said, isn't it strange that here we are, I'm walking on this side of the street, I did absolutely nothing. I did absolutely nothing. And you stopped me, when actually I, as a taxpayer, are paying your wages to protect me from people like that. Yeah. So I said, well, he said, okay, but actually it's not up to me because we got other policemen inside, they know who they are. I said, no, they don't, because they're not allowed in either. All of these people are just on the outside protecting something they have no idea about. And if you look about it, if you once again study history, if you change the names, it's the same power elite, but it might as well be Adolf Hitler, Goering, Goebbels, these type of people. that they were protecting.
Yeah.
So I said, it's not even exaggerated, it's the absolute truth. So I said to him, okay, since it's a waste for you to arrest me, let's do it like this. You promise me that you will go down tonight, you'll go home, you will look up the Bilderberg group on the internet. Nowadays, when I started, absolutely no one had heard of it, absolutely no way to find out, or very hard to find out info. Today, it's just all over the place. So I said, Mr. Kind Policeman, please, you promise, you go home, you study this group, so that you know who you are protecting me from. Check out their agenda, check out the background, educate yourself. Okay, so he nodded. So I said, do you promise me to do that? Because if you promise me to do that, I will tell you who I am. He said, okay. So I gave him my name, I gave him my absolute false address, and I said an absolute false date of birth. Okay. Okay. And then, because that is, I mean, I don't live in Denmark, I don't have a Danish, whatever the number is called, social security, whatever, I don't have it. So, and the address, absolutely no way, I'm not giving that. I mean, you can find me anyway, it's so easy, so it's a joke anyway. So, I gave it to him, he wrote it down, and I said, so now you're gonna go home and study this group? He said, no, I'm not into politics. And I said, this is not about politics, it's about criminality. We're talking crimes on a scale that is immense. Anyway, so I gave him, he got my name, and by that time he was totally surrounded by other people asking questions, and they were trying to put down all the names and numbers or whatever. So I thought, okay, fine, my job is done, so we took off and walked home. And it's a matter of mindset. This is just a small example, but even if somebody points a gun at you, as long as they don't shoot, you're fine. You know, don't buy into their game. If you become fearful of them, you're in their ball game. If you become violent, they will just use that as a major excuse to hit back monthfold, you know. That is why I am totally against being part of a group. I normally do not take part of things like this. It's just because Charlotte is such a beautiful person and she invited me, so I said I would love to come. Yeah. I'm not a, what do you call it, activist, I'm not a demonstrator, I'm a friend of whoever. Behave. If you do not behave, I will expose you. If you hurt other people, I will expose you. And if you do it on a big scale, I will expose you even more. Or something bad will happen to me. Who knows? I have absolutely no idea. I take one step at a time. But the mindset is the major one. And once again, even if somebody points a gun at you, as long as they do not pull the trigger, you are fine. Keep smiling, keep the focus. This is what is so beautiful in these days, where instead of when there's what do you call these anti-riot teams are coming and saying whoa, 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 whoa. When people put up mirrors saying, listen my friend, check yourself out. I mean, come on, are you really proud of what you've become? Are you really proud of what you're doing? Do you think there's any kind of dignity, any kind of humanity in what you're doing? Don't you think we look kind of nice, kind of friendly? Is there really a reason for you to hit me in the head? I'm just standing here. Do you think tear gas is the way to meet me? Instead of like share a beer or something like that, I would suggest the beer. Also the way that, one of my absolute favorite is this, they started like a brigade of clowns. Have you seen them? Oh God, I love these guys. What they do is when you got these riot police, they stand up next to them, identical, but with red hair and big noses, and whatever the riot police do, they do as well, but next to them.
That is so.
You know, so when they stand like this next to, that's the way to go. Defuse it. You know, do not lose the humor. Do not use the love inside, because then you're in their ball game, and that will possibly hurt. So be strong, be brave. I can see all of you. I mean, I think you're beautiful. I really do, and I really admire you for being here. Thank you so much. And It's going to be a great future. And I tell you one thing. Have you seen, there's a beautiful video on YouTube. It's called How to Start a Movement, or How a Movement is Started. Because this is very symbolic for what is going on at the moment. There's this, I think it's at a rock concert somewhere. Somebody's just filming. There's a whole crowd sitting in a grassy knoll type of thing. And one person stands up, a guy, he stands up, throws off his shirt and starts dancing. I mean, he looks like a frog in a mixer. He cannot dance, this guy, at all. No rhythm, no nothing. But he's super happy. The energy is there, totally positive, in no fear mode. Okay? He's just going, yeah, like this. Everybody's sitting pointing. Oh, look at the tinfoil hat, crazy guy. You know, you can just change the label, conspiracy theories, loony, you name it. Okay, everybody's pointing. He's weird, he's weird. But what happened? One person do not make the difference. But then about like half a minute later, a second guy suddenly comes up, and here's the important one. The first one really welcomes him. The second guy dances even worse, but they're really happy going for it. Then about 15 seconds later, there's a third guy, then a fourth, then a fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Suddenly, it's like it takes like half a minute from it's only being a handful. The whole place is dancing, and then the people sitting in the back saying, "Oh my God, they're weird, they're weird." Suddenly, they're on the outside, so they join just because, oh my God, like this. So just so quickly, woof, is a movement started. I would say I've been one of the ones that could not dance, and I've been on a very, very lonely road for many years. But at the moment, I would say we're beyond tipping point. Beyond the tipping point, there's this incredibly beautiful movement going, not in any ways that this symbolizes that we just being a handful of people, but people just, they can see there's something really weird going on that is not right, and they're waking up by the thousands every day. So I think, dear members of the Bilderberg Group, very sorry to say your days are over. They have had their absolute greed. I speak in many interviews. I've done countless interviews the last few years on international radio. Danish and Swedish radio, I'm sure you have not heard one single word about the Palme assassination, anything. But not on national radio or anything. I've sent my book to them, I said, here I am, use me. I've spent 30 years, I identified everyone involved, please contact me, please stop saying, was it the lone patsy, was it not? Was it the lone patsy, was it not? It was not, okay, can we get that over and done with? Here are here are the people who did it. Here's the power elite behind it. Here's how it was carried out. I'm here, use me. Has anyone contacted me about... That's a 0 if you don't see me. And here in Denmark, I made like a press release before I came here saying, please use me. I'm here. I have spent so many years. My head is full of this. Please release me. You know, take it out and use it so it can lead to something good. I sent out 1,100, more than 1,000 press releases. How many contacted me? 2 or 3, 2, something like that. What's going on? What's going on? So that's not the way to go. You can't expect media to do this. And yesterday, I was interviewed. I don't know, some kind of TV channel here, and this woman, really nice woman, who was doing her job, absolutely no idea what was going on in there. She said to me, she was asking me about the background, about the Bilderberg Group and how come and so on. And so she said, but if what you say is true, how come there's so little media here? So I took the microphone for her and I said, so if what I say is true, how come there's so little media here? And pointed that microphone at her. No answer, and hopefully maybe she will go home and start looking into what the Bilderberg Group. It takes the ripple effect. So what every single one of you do is really, really important, I tell you. Every single one of you. So be aware of what you spread. Do not spread fear, because this is an easy way to go. When you go into these dark corners, it's very easy to spread all of this negative thing around you. Live by example. Show that it's possible to be high in energy, to be a beautiful human being that will not take it anymore. Just like Gandhi said, it's not a matter of fighting back, it's a matter of standing up, say, I see you, I'm not taking it anymore. I'm not doing what you want me to do. I'm not fighting you, but I'm not doing it. We're not taking part of this game anymore. And everything is possible. So, once again, I salute you. I salute our dear friends in uniform. And listen, it's the future. I tell you, in what I think, the change, we're so close to the whole change of where everything's going to change. It's beyond the tipping point, I think. It looks very scary, but it's like the dragon has been slain already. That is why they're getting very, very agitated, very nervous, because they think, oh my God, when people find out what we've been up to for so many years, they're gonna lynch us. And I say, very possibly. I would not be part of that, but there's a great possibility. So the way forward for them is to get some balls, some courage, and step forward, because now is the time for them to step forward. Now they will be welcomed as heroes, become whistleblowers. We will welcome them with a warm embrace, especially if they step forward and say from the bottom of their heart, if they feel so, that I am so sorry for what I've been part of creating. I will take my responsibility, I will take whatever punishment if that is, but I will stand in bravery and truth and transparency, expose everything I've been part of. We will welcome them. I will welcome them. The longer they wait, the colder the embrace will be. But the thing is, it's going down. And what most people are not aware of is that the elite they have been getting away for so many years without, they thought they were untouchable. I think it was 2006, I'm very proud to say I'm friend with one of the judges of the War Tribune in Kuala Lumpur. I don't know if you heard about that one, but Tony Blair, George Bush Jr., Dick Cheney were subpoenaed to court in Kuala Lumpur. There was a people's court of international lawyers and judges. Of course they didn't dare to come. They didn't come. But the whole court case was there, and they were sentenced for crimes against peace, crimes against humanity, and war crimes on a scale that is very, very high. This sentence was brought to the War Tribune in Hague, so it's an active sentence. And many of the countries that are connected to this court, if they come to that court, to that country, if that country has some kind of courage, it is for them to arrest these people. So it's closing in on them. And I would also say on the 31st of March this year, the English Queen Elizabeth Windsor II, and the former Pope were subpoenaed to court in Brussels. The accusation, child genocide. I mean, this is heavy. And then just a few days before she was subpoenaed, Queen Elizabeth put out a press release saying that due to high age, I'm sorry, I can't travel anymore. I would say, okay, maybe Elizabeth could have anything to do with Brussels. I'm just saying it's going down, and the future is beautiful. And if you can bear with me just a few minutes more.
Yes. Yeah, sure.
Okay. I will just say one more thing. Because we are in a universe with very strict rules. There's the gravity, there's many other rules that we live by. We just have to accept this is the way it goes. And if you look in a laboratory, if you start with a low frequency, you take a loudspeaker, you put it upside down, you put a piece of cardboard on top of it, and then you put sand on. If you put a low frequency, what happens is that the sand will start shaking, and then it moves into an absolute beautiful pattern, like a snowflake pattern. Okay, low frequency. When you start raising the energy, what happens is that first nothing happens, and then after a while suddenly it starts shaking, and then suddenly it just clicks into a new perfect pattern, totally different to the one that was there before, but absolute magnificent new pattern. Okay, you keep raising the energy, nothing happens, it starts shaking, it starts being uncomfortable, and then boom, it goes into the next one. I would say that this is also what is happening with us, that there's this energy, a rising energy of awareness going on. So we are at the point where at least the last few years, it's really been shaking a lot. There's a lot of people that say that it started in the 1980s where we started to the next level, and there's been a lot of shaking around 2013, 12 and 13 and so on. But then times of change come, just like I said in my song. I think we're very close to where it suddenly just jumps into the next level, and that level, if it goes like I hope, is where duality ends, where these type of things just stops, where we start seeing each other as one, helping each other, doing beautiful things for each other instead of fighting each other. So I would say in my calculations, I'm not good at math, but within a year or two, that is what I see, not 30 years or 40 years or for my grandchildren, it's now. And the native Indians, and then I will shut up after this, the native Indians say that we, the souls that have come down at this point, we are the strongest of the strong. We're not weak wimps, you know. Anybody who's in a wimp mode at this time, sorry, that is not why you came here. You came here to be proud of yourself. You have been chosen by your dead ancestors to come down this time of great challenges. So this is not a time to pick your nose, change the channels, eat another pizza. This is the time to wake up and see what's going on and raise your energy. And the way to raise it is, instead of looking at yourself, I just want to say depression without being rude in any way, but there's a description of depression, and that is me, my problems, me, mine problems. I'm the weak one, I'm sad, all of these things. The way to raise the energy is help someone else. Go out, whatever you can do random, instead of drive-by shooting, do random acts of kindness, do drive-by huggings, whatever. Raise the energy. Go to your neighbor, fix their garden when they're not home, you know, hug a tree, hug a policeman, whatever it is, you know, especially things that gives people hope. That is the way to go. Because kindness has this incredible thing that it makes you feel better, raising your energy. It makes the receiver feel better, raise their energy. And they made tests that everyone who sees an act of kindness, it makes them feel better as well. And they get inspired to do the same. And the higher we are in energy, the more difficult for them to control us. So don't buy into all this crap you see on TV about the world being an absolute terrorist state, awful place that everybody's just shooting and killing each other. We look around you. Don't focus on the chemtrails, but look around you, see how absolutely beautiful life is around you. And by appreciating what you've got, that is the way to go. And now I'm going to be quiet.
Can I ask a question?
I have a question here.
Yeah, hello. I'd like to ask our speaker a question. It sounds beautiful. It sounds like a very wonderful approach you have. But could you be more specific? Why do you think that we are at a turning point? Because there's no evidence in society. Nobody even knows much about the Bilderbergers. You are talking about the spirit world, but we need more specific people understanding here on Earth through the media.
I don't know if you heard that question. The question is, am I too spaced out and thinking about in a spiritual world, or is this something that can be done on this level? I said totally here. We cannot depend on media, because that would be the natural way, that media is the one to do these things. our police are the ones that should protect us from them. And so it's not happening. We need to take our own power back. I'm not saying by violence in any way, but by waking up and standing our own power inside, become aware, inform ourselves, educate ourselves and so on. If we trust media to do it for us, absolutely, it's not going to happen. And nothing about bad about the journalists. They're often so stressed out because by design they're nowadays they get so many assignments about what did Britney Spears get for breakfast or whatever football star has a knee injury, instead of focusing on what actually matters. So I don't blame them either, even though it's their responsibility, big time, including the police and the military forces, to educate themselves. Whose agenda are you serving? How come you have sworn loyalty to the people and you're not doing it? You know? They are actually super criminals, most of these people. The agenda is extremely criminal. If you see unjust wars and invasion of countries that have absolutely no guilt in whatever, they just kill and destroy and all of these things. I mean, I would say that it's an absolute atrocity against humanity, and they just keep repeating it. So, inform them. Oh, I'm getting tired of listening to my own voice. But anyway, life is good. Let's keep it like that. And let's give me a hug. Hey!
This is what we're talking about, bro.
We give you love.
You need more love in the world. And you just so love.
They don't know it.
Nice. Good off, please, in Denmark.
This is how police should work. Love you. Hello. Hello.
What's going on here?
This is peace, love, and harmony. So, love for everyone. I love you, yes.
Tagging them with
that's nice. Yes. Peace, love, and harmony. If we don't give love, we don't receive love. And a big hug. Okay? Yes. Peace, love, and harmony. Okay. Okay. Terrific. Anyone else?
Yes.
Come on then.
Scotland.
Peace, love, and harmony.
Peace, love, and harmony.
Yes. Yes. Emma. Right here across the gym. Across to the next. This is a crossover. Peace, love, harmony. Okay, good. Ja, gør lige det.
No,
Hey!
Den nye politi-hippie kaldes. Everyone else? Ja, det tror jeg. Skal vi have en? Yes.
What's this?
Love.
Ah, love. Oh. Love police. Love police.
Yes.
Okay.
Kom nu, Jesper.
Hvad er det? Brækker du så?
Ja, ja.
Jeg får kranken om lidt. Fedt, mand.
Sådan. Og tit har du kramme en politi måske.
Det har jeg sgu aldrig prøvet før, mand.
Smukt det der. Sådan der.
Du gjorde det sgu.
Lovely.
Tak, mand. Hun brækkede. Nej.
Ej, så bliver han sgu for glad for det, tror jeg.
Første gang, mand.
Ja.
Åh, for helvede.
Og du er ikke engang død af det.
Nej, men du har både stjerner og det hele.
Se, ja. Og sådan en der.
Hvad fanden, mand, ikke? Du kan godt lide det.
Ja,
det er godt, mand. Det er godt, det er fedt. Det er første gang, jeg rammer en politibetjent.
Ja, det skal også her.
Det er genialt. Det er første gang, du har spurgt.
Ja. Normalt, når de siger, at de vil kramme, så plejer jeg at løbe.
Men jeg vil gerne have noget.
Men jo, det er sgu da festligt. Så får jeg mine veninder til. Har jeg stadig min på ryggen? Yes. Ja. Ja,
jeg skal have den side. Jeg skal lige sige noget.
Så er det nu, man...
Ja,
ej, det vil næsten være flaget nu.
Ja, okay, ja.
Tag en t-shirt på og civil på.
Ja. Og så måske datoen så.
Hey!
Vi brækker også,
Ja.
Lina, det her er
Der skal vi pakke. For jeg har ingen. Jeg har spurgt. Så kan politi.
Love police.
det er lang vej. Again, to watch, not a member, so I'm not a member of this
I would love some love.
Skal vi have den en sidste gang, eller skal vi vente til i morgen? Lad os vente til i morgen.
Thank you very much. Yeah, brave the world.
Operation Paperclip. It's the crazy scientists.
Du kan synge godt ind over med det her.
Ja.
Så smulige de.
De står med en kikkert eller hvad var det, hun tog i hånden der?
De har bare alle sammen kigget derinde.
Og ham der i suitet derovre, han har sådan en enkelt kikkert til.
Hvad er det for noget? Er det der som er
Skal vi se? Jeg skal lige fat. What happened?
I have asked the people here what it was about, this gathering.
Yeah.
Because the police was around, and so much police was around.
Yes.
And he said special security procedure.
Okay.
I asked why is such a big security?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
What is it for?
Yeah.
If it's just a gathering.
Yeah.
And then what happened? I said, what are you scared for? What is the problem?
Yeah.
Is it maybe terrorists or some terrorists?
Yeah.
And then he got angry.
Okay, we could see that.
I'm sorry he got angry because we come here for our own children.
Yeah.
To protect them.
Yeah.
Against this club of
criminals.
Kepler Nazi club.
Yeah, true. That's true.
Totally agree.
So then he took me to the ground.
Yeah, I saw that.
I'm sorry for him.
Yeah, I'm sorry for him too.
Yeah,
he don't understand what he's doing. He don't understand what he's doing.
No,
we will try to inform them on it.
He got very angry yesterday. Continue to be angry.
Yeah, we could see that. You are okay? You are okay?
You okay?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Bye bye.
I'm from Holland.
Welcoming to the country, but I'm glad to be here now amongst my kind of people instead of where I was in the jail. So thank you for that. Thank you for being here and showing your support. You know, it's incredibly important to expose groups like Bilderberg. You know, it's really amazing to see how far this has come, even in just the last 8 years that I've been covering this. Back in 2006, for example, you know, there was maybe 10 protesters at the most, and just a couple of reporters. And only, you know, it's only been a few years, and there's already, the movement is growing huge. It's incredible momentum that we have right now, and we have to continue with that momentum. So it's an exciting time to be involved in this fight against the New World Order. Now here in Denmark, I'm finding that you guys might, it comes down to an issue that we have to wake up the people, and I think it's been difficult here in Denmark. A lot of the people here seem to be not necessarily local. It seems to be, we're having a hard time getting locals to come out, and we need to figure out why that is, and it's important to continue to wake people up, and we have been doing that. That's why we're seeing so many people here, and that's because of people like yourself writing articles, doing YouTube videos, and just getting the word out about Bilderberg. So we are actually having an effect. I mean, Bilderberger Zbigniew Brzezinski mentioned that you know, there's a global political awakening happening right now, and that's because of you guys. Just like Hillary Clinton said that we're in an information war and they're losing, again, that's because of all you great people doing the great work. So I'm in good company here, and basically we have to continue our efforts to wake people up to who Bilderberg is. And secondly, though, it's not enough just to wake people up to it and then just walk away. You know, sometimes when you learn about these things, it can be a little overwhelming sometimes, and sometimes people don't know what to do, but there is hope. There is things you can do, even if it's just down to the individual, simple little things you can do, starting a website, starting a YouTube channel, even if it's handing out flyers or DVDs, it can be simple. But the point is, it's important to take that step, and you guys have clearly taken that step, and I think it worries people like the Bilderberg Group, because they can't hide in the shadows anymore. This is why they now have to have a website. This is why they have to publish their lists, some of their lists anyways. And this is why we have to continue to be here, to let them know that we're not going to let up. Because as much as they try to grab this power grab that they're going for, there was an equal movement happening all over the world, an awakening happening. So as much as they are trying to gain this system, we equally have to not fight back, but counter everything they're doing, because they operate in a pyramidal structure with them at the top and more people down at the bottom. And I think it comes down to global non-compliance, really. It's just saying we don't want no part of this system anymore. And when you step out of a system like that, it's the symbolic of removing the bottom brick from a pyramid. Well, what happens when you do that is the entire thing comes crumbling down. And these people know this. Their system is fragile. They're not quite as powerful as they seem. They operate through compartmentalization, but I think it's that compartmentalization which may be their weakness, because we are the compartments and we are speaking with one another, and we are beginning to teach our friends, our family members, people all over the internet, people all over the world are learning about this because of you guys and because of the coverage that we're doing at these events. So again, it's incredibly important, and I want to thank you once again for bringing me out here. Let's continue to expose Bilderberg and do everything we can to keep this momentum going that we have right now, to let these guys know that we're here and we're not going away. So thank you very much once again, folks, and keep up.
I used to work as a musician, so every time I see a mic, I go testing, 1, 2, testing. But it's always hard to be the lunchtime speaker, so I know you're hungry and you've been standing a while. I'll be brief. As he noted, I followed up on Jim Tucker. I'm his protege, and it's just great to be here for my 5th Bilderberg. But I wanted to stress what I told a Swedish film crew yesterday, and to kind of amplify what Luke Rudowski said earlier today when he was speaking. He made some great points. With the Bilderberg Group, the main lever of control, and some of you I'm sure know this in the general sense at least, is the control of the creation of money. Now the control of the creation of money is the ultimate control. Along with that, of course, they control agriculture, the privatization of large water supplies, all the basic tenets of human existence they want to put under their control through centralized corporate farming and GMOs, through privatizing and harnessing all the water, through other means. Even the way our houses are constructed, all of the ways in which we live could be so much better and so much healthier, but there's poisons in the water, poisons in the food, and the distortion of the monetary system through the way they create money. And I just want to stress this, the transmission of their engine is literally the fact that they take money and credit and create it out of thin air. Now, creating it out of thin air is not really the bad part. The bad part is they attach interest to it. So for every dollar that comes into existence, more than $1 is drawn out of existence. So they always have us on this steep treadmill where we never have enough money to buy what's produced, and there's always way more debt than there is money to pay that debt.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
So by divorcing them from the monetary system, by getting, for instance, the U.S. Congress or smaller monetary systems into place, and doing the same thing throughout the world, we see then kind of the Death Star of Darth Vader, the central control. And by disarming that, we disarm the entire Bilderberg Trilateral Atlantic Council system. And so, I stress that. Maybe he's amplifying what I'm saying, who knows. At any rate, I only point this out because we can all keep that in the center of our minds, whatever our groups might be, whatever media we work for, whatever kind of activists we are. We can all agree on that one unified point, and that's to deprive them of the ability to privately create money at interest and thereby control the entire lifeblood of commerce. And so governments and peoples can create their own money interest free. It can be a sovereign act of government once again. We can have legislative, judicial, executive, and monetary brought back into public control without interest. And there's actually been bills on that proposed. H.R. 2990 was a bill in Congress a couple of congressional sessions ago by Dennis Kucinich. Who's heard of Dennis Kucinich, a congressman, a former congressman now? He introduced this bill that would have disarmed the Federal Reserve and returned the creation of money interest-free to public control. The next thing you knew, they redistricted his district in northern Ohio, and he was no longer a congressman. And so this is how the banksters and the Bilderberg-connected banksters came back on someone that tried to deprive the Bilderbergers and their brethren of the power to create money. But I just wanted to call attention to that as the central transmission of their control, and thereby, if we throw sand in that, if we rip that out of their engine of control, so to speak, metaphorically speaking, then they no longer have that central power, and they'll soon be depleted of their influence. And of course the goal, and I think we can all agree on the goal, and that is to close the book on Bilderberg. Not just expose them, not just talk about why this private government is wrong, but to close the book on them, to end the Bilderberg meetings. So on that note, I'll let you go. Let's remember the central control of money. We have to divorce them from that and put an end to private government and a new awakening and a new day for real freedom throughout the world.
Yeah. Thank you. Hey. Woo.
Thank you, Mark, and yes, please, thank you. Gave such a big applause for Jim Tucker, so please give a big applause also for Jim Tucker and exposing the Bilderberg for the European media. It's excellent work that the American Free Press have done. We will take a short break now, and Niels Harrit will speak again at 15 o'clock at the same location. Thank you.
Great.
And he said, well, Alex, if they printed money...
Alex Jones?
No, my name is Alex.
Oh, your name's Alex, sorry.
His name is Jones.
No way.
That's actually funny. So how come there's no inflation? If they print the money, and like, United States got like, what, 15 quadrillion something of debt? Like
the official debt's 16 trillion or whatever. The unofficial debt is probably 300 trillion.
Yeah. The point is, how come there's no inflation? Why does, I don't know, water not cost a few $1,000? You know what I mean?
Why is there no inflation? When?
If you print money, inflation would come, right? Like immediately. Like if you just print money and give it to the people by the money,
well,
inflation would come, and I didn't know how to answer his question.
Yeah, well, to get into the economics here would have been cumbersome, so that's I just gave.
Of course.
Yeah. One of the misunderstandings is that everybody thinks there's this flood of money in circulation, and that then every dollar is decreased in value because there's so much money. The exact opposite is true. There's not nearly enough money in circulation versus the goods for sale. Right now in England, there are unsold cars by the hundreds of thousands parked away rotting in England. So okay, every time you make a product, you're packing the cost into it. What is a price? The price is the grand total of all the human sweat and raw materials and taxes and interest that went into making the product. Then they expect the average consumer to retire that price when you make the retail purchase at the consumer level, at the cash register. The banks restrict credit, and they attach interest to the money they loan into circulation. So you get, let's say, $1 million into circulation one day, but over time, that $1 million, much more than that, is going to be taken out. And so collectively, as money's put in, more money's coming out through interest drain. Because for every dollar coming in, more than that is drawn out in interest. They never create the money that is used to pay the interest. You have to beg, borrow, and steal to get that. So a lot of the Austrian scholars, the Austrian School of Economics, they say, oh my gosh, if you print money, then each dollar, it'll take $1 million to buy a dozen eggs and all these scare tactics. I don't think that's true at all. At the Main Street level, there's very little money in circulation, and most of it is interest-bearing loans versus what's for sale. So at the very least, there has to be enough money to roughly equal the GDP, the economic productive output. If you don't have enough money, you have to go to the bankers, they charge you interest, everything is in the form of a loan, you've got money entering, and yes, it can cause the prices to uptick a little, but you also have money exiting. Now, people would argue, well, that keeps prices stable, but but you have to have enough of a inflationary, if you will, introduction of money into circulation to at least buy what's for sale and clear the shelves, encourage more production, more employment, and then you keep the money flowing. People can buy what's for sale. They clear the shelves. The companies say we need more orders, and they produce more. Yeah. And so the productive wheel begins to turn. Yeah. Right now, it's almost like a water wheel with just a trickle of water, and the wheel won't turn. And so, and the gold standard is problematic too because the City of London controls the gold supply and the market. So, I think that although I don't understand it all because it's a difficult thing to understand, I think that there is a lot of misunderstanding about money. And this idea that if you introduce more money into circulation that we're going to have automatically more inflation. For one thing, if people get a slightly higher price for what they're selling, they're going to take that money and they're going to hire more people, or they're going to pay their existing employees a higher wage. You know, or they might be able to lower the price of their goods. I mean, there's a lot of benefits to an increased money supply as long as it doesn't vastly exceed the productive output.
So one would argue that it's actually a lie, that more money in circulation
would cause prices to go through the roof. Yeah, there's going to be slight upticks and downticks because as people get more money, they're going to buy more, the companies will produce more, the prices will stabilize as long as you're within a couple percentile of the productive output. Yeah, a lot of money above the productive output, then that's going to bid things up. But right now we're below the productive output. It's deflationary. But you know, getting into that all right now would have been awkward. You know, yeah.
All the other stuff is pretty.
But the real important part is that a sovereign government controls, and I know that's a hard thing to hear in the sense that people think, and it's true, that the governments are so corrupted, so to hand them that, they're just going to abuse it. And in the short term, that's true. But ultimately, what has brought the government over to their side is that the government has to go to the bankers for the money. The governments have to submit themselves to credit ratings to meet the conditions of the banksters, who then get them into war so they'll borrow more money. And over time, if governments control the creation of money like they do their other branches of governance, over time it would weaken the banking empire because they'd no longer have control over governments. We would divorce the banks from the money system. You know, banks should not be allowed to create money. You know, and so that's the way of boiling it down. There's different. The bill that I mentioned, the Kucinich bill, is one.
Was it while Bill Clinton was president that they changed it? It was in the 70s, right?
The 70s was when they removed the gold standard for international transactions, 1971. With Nixon, right. 1933 of March was when they took gold coins out of circulation under FDR. Now,
isn't it the basis of it is that when the game is rigged as detailed as it is, with subsidies and all kinds of regulations, all the classic economic flows, doesn't really, you know, they don't work the way they should in theory.
You mean
the game is rigged?
You mean, oh yeah, when you have a rigged economy, you know, these guys, part of the reason they're in there is so they know how to write the rules. If you're a trade minister, you're going to get input from someone else, or you're going to give someone input on how you'd like to see the trade rules written. If you're a finance minister, you're going to say to an official from another country, you know, I really want to make more inroads into your nation, and you need to relax those antitrust laws for me. So they do their deal making. That's part of what this is, insider trading of sorts. You know, you relax your trade deals, our trade rules, I'll relax my banking rules. Now we need you to beef up your defense in this country to keep the population down, like let's say Greece, enact some austerity measures, get those Greeks off our backs so we can enact these other rules. And you know, so this is what you got going on in here, you know. Yeah, and coordinating the rules. Yeah, they don't have to have a formal vote, they just have to have a general consensus. You know, so they come out with this horseshit about, you know, oh, we don't cast any resolutions. You know, how many times do I have to hear that?
You see the guy at Balls, the Brit?
Oh, the guy with the most unfortunate name in the whole place, yeah.
He needs to get a kick in his surname.
Yeah.
With all his papers, you know, in soft kind of folders. big, thick bunch of papers that he was had to show up.
Oh, you saw him with that?
Yeah, they shot the film on the Infowars.
Oh.
Because in some way he didn't actually have the right credentials at first, so he had to show them papers.
But I thought everyone knows Ed Balls. Ed Balls, his driver's license is good enough for them, right?
I will see the...
well, nice meeting you. I mean, I hope that helps. I know there's some confusion as to the monetary system. And I'm trying to sort it out, but I do know that it should be a sovereign control, and without money shouldn't create interest at its very inception. You know, and compound interest, of course, is usury, and that is the most ravenous thing in the entire world. I think they said that if you loaned just a few dollars at 6% interest at the time of Christ, that the interest compounded would swallow the world many times over. Yeah, compound interest is the ultimate weapon of war.
You heard about the SDR, the credit they will...
Oh, the IMF special drawing rights? Yeah, you know, you wonder about that, right? You got this European Union and you got the Eurasian Union, which Putin created right during Bilderberg, which is, wow. And I don't know if the timing is coincidental, but you wonder if they'll play those two unions off each other for another reason. Like a dialectical thing, you don't know for sure, obviously. But you wonder if they'll play those two unions off and say, well, the only way to solve this is through the introduction of a special drawing right, because we're going away from the dollar, we're keeping the dollar. And so, wait a minute, whoops, we got something new. But,
well, you know, the Danish crown is based on the euro, but it doesn't matter, it's basically the same. It's all based on oil, and oil you can trade that for goods.
Is that what they do with the Danish crown? Yeah. They tie it to the euro, and then that in turn is petro.
Yeah, but it's the same. Like you say the dollar, I say the euro. It's all the same. It's the same people.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, the U.S. is kind of a de facto world government, and some people think it was even intended.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, they say well, watch out for the world government. I think we've had one for 100 or 200 years.
Yeah, you see the British Empire and all that.
Yeah, it's almost like we were created to replace the British Empire at a certain time, and then the United States, which is very Masonically based. You know, on the top of a lot of our buildings in Washington are gods of war, and you know, very dark symbols. And one of the leading Masonic organizations in the entire world is right there in Washington, about 5 blocks from the White House. You know,
if not within.
Yeah, and the whole town, as you know.
Some would argue that the whole White House and your Pentagon and all that, you know, it's basically just energy spots. But that's pretty complex, you know, quantum physics and stuff. But
well, they took all the people in the world, they went there and became this melting pot. It's almost like a portal to the global state, the U.S. And now it's the new empire. It's the most warlike nation now in the history of the world. I mean, they're always at war. They've been at war constantly for like 25 years.
Well, don't get me started on Obama.
Oh, I know.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
It's true that...
Bare kør mod statsfængsel med det samme! Hallo?
In eternity, everyone is guilty until proven innocent.
Tenía se reunieron en España, el año pasado fue en Inglaterra. El año pasado fue en Inglaterra.
Without the criminal support from the Danish government of Bilderberg, you have no power. The people have the power if we stand together against the tyranny.
Please, send that bus to the state prison.
We believe in you. We give you the time to realize how the stuff works.
Jeg tror, de skal på tur. Det plejer de vist at gøre om lørdagen, har jeg hørt om. Det kunne være sjovt at følge med dem.
I've come here today as a free human, standing against the global tyranny of the royal families who want depopulation and dehumanization of the entire planet in order to gain world domination by controlling the population worldwide with fear. We are gathered here today because we don't live in fear. You are the ones who should be fearful of the power of the people. Like John Kennedy and I around the world about a military, global, industrial complex. I stand in front of you today to denounce your evil. Freedom! And the Danish people is for freedom!
Ja, rundt om bygningen der og langt bort.
Some of you might know him. He's known as a chemist from the University of Copenhagen, and he's one of the 9 scientists who found the nanothermite in the dust from the World Trade Center. I don't think he's going to speak that much about that today. I think he's going to speak about the lie, the deception in our society. But I won't speak anymore because Niels is here and the sound is working. So thank you, Niels.
Hey.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I actually have a speech here. Dear fellow Bilderberg protesters, yes. Power is based on fear. And if you go through the last 60 years of Western history, you realize that it has been one long time of low-intensity terror and full-blown wars. So we have come to realize that war and terror are simply the means by which you rule on a greater scale. And as an old Chinese philosopher pointed out, all wars are based on deception. In our society, the war propaganda is channeled through the mainstream press. The media have carried an endless stream of lies to fool the soldiers to fight and to fool the people to pay. A great fear society would not have been possible without the complicity of the media. The mainstream press also misinforms about the meeting taking place right now across the street. In spite of the fact that a Bilderberg meeting gathers the top power brokers in the Western countries, the media, to the extent that the event is mentioned at all, present it as a talking shop. They want us to believe that these powerful people take 3 days out of their precious time, fly around the globe, come to this place for an informal exchange of opinions, an uncommitted chat at the golf course. But there is no golf course on the Marriott Hotel Copenhagen, and not even a tour of the canal will be permitted by security. So we may deduce that the agenda is more sinister this time. At a 1991 meeting of the Bilderberg Group, David Rockefeller was quoted as saying, quote, "We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promise of discretion for 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world if we had been subjected to the lights of publicity during those years. But the world is more sophisticated now and prepared to march towards a world government. The supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national autodetermination practiced in past centuries." This was David Rockefeller. Whoa. End of quote. That real decisions are indeed being taken in the Bilderberg Club was most explicitly revealed by former Secretary General of NATO, Willy Klaas, who in a radio interview in 2001 admitted that, quote, "Bilderberg attendees are mandated to implement decisions that are formulated during the annual conference of power brokers in their respective spheres of influence," end of quote. Those spheres of influence certainly include the media. If you are a journalist and want a job in the mainstream press, you must be ready to write and say what you're told. You must be ready to shut up when you're told. Manning of the editorial staffs of the mainstream media is a simple matter of social selection, Darwin style. If you cannot lie, there is no job for you. Lies and deception have become an integral, totally accepted feature of our culture, a state of collective lying. It has not always been quite like that. According to myth, a young George Washington confessed to cutting down a cherry tree by proclaiming, "I cannot tell a lie." The story is testament to how much respect Americans have for their cherished first president and honesty in general. If true, George Washington was a normal, decent person, since all normal, decent persons do not want to tell lies. We want to tell the truth. Likewise, no sane person wants to be lied to. Honesty is a fundamental quality, a natural urge of human nature.
Yes.
In particular, we do not want to be lied to by persons who, by destiny, fate, or political process, are supposed to take care of us, those being parents, public servicemen, superiors, or politicians. We want our governments and media to tell us the truth and to deliver justice.
Yes.
We want to believe them. So whenever there is discrepancy between what we are being told and reality, we have a problem, which, ironically, prompts us to lie to ourselves so we avoid the pain of being deceived. Simply, we deny it. We don't see it. The gut reaction is, I know it, but I don't want to know it. A small fraction, though, of the population can lie without emotion. This applies to most, if not all, of today's leaders of society.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't feel a thing. They only consider which lie is the best from a strategic point of view. So does the press. They cover political events like covering a sports game. George Washington wouldn't stand a ghost of a chance in modern politics. And maybe John F. Kennedy was the last leader with some integrity. Today, by social selection, you simply do not get to the top of the power hierarchy if you cannot lie.
Yeah.
I will read you another quote from a well-known ruler of the not too distant past. Quote, all this was inspired by the principle, which is quite true in itself, that in the big lie there is always a certain force of credibility. Because the broad masses of a nation are always more easily corrupted in the deeper strata of their emotional nature than consciously or voluntarily. And thus, in the primitive simplicity of their minds, they more readily fall victims to the big lie than the small lie, since they themselves often tell small lies in little matters, but would be ashamed to resort to large-scale falsehoods. It would never come into their heads to fabricate colossal untruth, and they would not believe that others could have the impudence to distort the truth so infamously. End of quote. Yes, as you may know, that was a quote from Mein Kampf by Adolf Hitler. And he went on to fabricate colossal untruth, distorting the truth infamously indeed, and thus paving the way to fascism and ultimately World War II. Since then, our society has been told an apparently endless number of such colossal untruths. The official account of 9/11 is a prime example.
Yes, here.
The attack on Afghanistan on October 7th, 2001, the attack on Iraq in 2003, and the global, never-ending world war on terror are collectively called the 9/11 wars, since they are based on the premise that the United States was attacked by 19 young Muslim men on September 11th, 2001. There is absolutely no forensic evidence, none, supporting this, the official conspiracy theory of 9/11. On the contrary, there are mountains of scientific hard evidence proving that it is false. Most obviously, it is an unambiguous conclusion from observations that the 3 skyscrapers which were destroyed in World Trade Center on 9/11 were taken down in controlled demolitions by means of explosives and incendiaries. I I will elaborate a little on this, since the conclusion spans a fateful, fantastic arc through the history of science. Many of you may be aware that the third of the World Trade Center high-rises, the renowned Building 7, which was not hit by an airliner, came down in free-fall acceleration into its own footprint 7 hours after the collapses of the Twin Towers. Fewer may know and recall that the fall of gravity was the subject of the very first systematic and quantitative experiments in science when Galileo Galilei in 1593 entertained the citizens of Pisa by throwing objects of different size out from the tilting tower and measuring their time of fall. Galileo's laws of gravity, later transformed into Newton's second law of motion, published in 1687, together, of course, with the first and the third. There have been no exceptions from Newton's laws of motion for more than 300 years, so Isaac has never lost a game. But according to the official technical report, World Trade Center Building 7 collapsed due to gravity following random small office fires. This hypothesis violates Newton's laws and the no less fundamental principles of conservation of energy. There is no way around this, which means that the official narrative about the 9/11 attacks is false.
Yes, yes.
And we have been taken to the walls by deception. In 1633, Galileo was put on trial by the Inquisition for heresy. Not because he had studied gravity free fall, but because he had written in a book that the Earth revolves around the Sun, not the other way around, as generally believed at the time. This statement was a threat to the Catholic Church, which considered St. Peter's Square the center of the universe and universal power. Galileo told the truth based on evidence and observations, and he was framed as a dangerous extremist. At the trial, in his shirt only, Galileo, who had just turned 70, was forced on his knees to swear that the Earth stood still in the center of the universe. And to secure the proper course of proceedings, instruments of torture were on display in the corner of the hall. As we know, torture has come back, again as a tool of power. Yeah. Guantanamo is still there, and the key claims of the 9/11 Commission report were based on torture. They didn't even try to conceal it. But the means of clashing down and dissent are more varied, more subtle, and more sophisticated in our societies compared with the 17th century. Academia and the arts have been gagged by legislation and funding strategies which have worked with frightening efficiency over the last 12 years. And framing Speaker of Truth and other dissidents as dangerous extremists have become a standard refrain in the mainstream press. Many scholars have pointed out now that our Western society is in the same critical stage as in the 1920s. The financial and economic indicators certainly show sinister similarities. This is the kind of stuff they're seeing now at the Bilderberg meeting. We don't know the course and time of scale of this coming economic collapse. But in any case, we are on the verge of social changes of an order and magnitude without precedence in Western history. The New World Disorder is coming up. Thank you. It is going to be ugly, but we don't know where it may end. It may go to either side. One side is called corporate tyranny. There is no word yet for the alternative. But imagine a society with real democracy and genuine freedom. Freedom from lies and freedom from fear. Imagine national constitutions which make lying to the public by politicians a criminal act. Really, that's all it takes. Decisive for the outcome of the coming storm will be the level of public enlightenment. And the decision to launch a war or not to launch a war is entirely a choice of humans, that kind of humans who are invited to a Bilderberg meeting. It has been said that the truth is the first casualty of war. Rather, we have learned in later years that wars are preceded by lies.
Yeah.
But this, my friends, these are the good news. Because it means that they have to fool the people before they launch a war. If public pressure didn't count, there would be no reason to cheat. If the people of power did not fear the people of the street, there would be no reason to put reflecting tape on the window of the Marriott Hotel. If they didn't care, they wouldn't bother. But they do. They hide. And that's why we are here out in the open.
Yeah.
Therefore, thank you. Therefore, the best defense against war is the truth.
Yeah.
You can have dishonesty without war, but you cannot have war without dishonesty. There is no such thing as an honest war. And since 9/11 was such an obvious lie, they really messed up this time. Since 9/11 was such a blatant lie, it represents a unique and unprecedented window of opportunity to end the permanent state of war. In Riverside Church, New York City, 1967, Dr. Martin Luther King said, "The time comes when silence is betrayal." Rightfully, you may say that this moment has come many times over since the killing of Dr. King. But never have his words been more true than after 9/11. No peace without truth. 9/11 is key. Thank you.
I don't control them. They don't control me. Well, that's up to you to judge. I don't know. Maybe I'm very negative out of it.
Excuse me.
Then it would be a bad thing for me to be
climate change, folks. Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Climate change is a
Everybody who believes that the climate change thing is a hoax,
change
raise your hand.
Not climate changes. Global warming is a hoax. Global warming, not climate changes.
Well, then we democratically agree that climate change is a hoax.
No! Global warming caused by CO2 is a hoax.
Okay.
Right. But you would certainly be somewhat informed about the 9/11 situation, how it was carried out, and who is behind the 9/11?
I wasn't informed.
You're not informed?
Well, I'm just as informed as you are, I think.
If you were, you would not be standing out here.
No, of course not.
Because it is very evident now by all the scientific analysis of the 9/11 that the 9/11 was actually engineered by a very small power group of elite people.
Yeah, I read about that.
Yeah, who had actually put explosive on all floors in the building.
I saw the documentary.
Right. And what's your opinion about this?
I think it went. I think it was not the truth.
What about Building 7? It wasn't hit by any plane?
Have you heard about that? I don't think it was hit by a plane, was it?
No, it wasn't. But it fell down in 6 seconds.
But since you are this uninformed about it, how can you then pretend
about it, but I have a different opinion than you have.
It's possible.
It's possible. I think there was 2 buildings that were taken down by 2 planes, and the other buildings were taken down by the.
So you are a sheep. You are definitely a sheep until you believe so.
5 hours later.
No. Fire.
You can't even say it with a straight face. Come on.
I'm an engineer.
Why did you pull the press away from Niels Harrit? We would like to get you to the speaker up here, and you can speak in the speaker, please. I spoke to you yesterday. Why did you come at 15 o'clock?
God point.
Please.
God point.
Please.
We want
if you want to speak, if you want to speak, why do you speak?
Come inside and speak, please.
Please come here.
Speak to the people.
Come inside and speak,
Have a
please.
speaker, please come and speak.
Come and speak.
We don't bite, we don't do anything, please.
I'm not going to speak to this. I don't think it's appropriate.
But
yes, it's like shouting.
But is it appropriate to come at 15 o'clock when Niels Harrit, you knew for, I don't know, 14 days that Niels Harrit would come at 15 o'clock? And then when he started...
I have 1 hour. I have 1 hour to spare. I come here. But I don't like to shout at you. So I don't like this thing.
Come on and speak up here.
Okay, now I only have one question. I would ask you that. One question. One question.
Yeah, why speak when Niels Harrit was scheduled? You put all the
dear friends,
I'm speaking, and I'm asking, please.
Try to agree on who's speaking first.
Yeah. Why did you come? When Niels Harrit was scheduled to speak?
Actually, I came here because I got a message from a journalist that I spoke yesterday, and he asked me to come again.
Who was that journalist?
He got arrested today.
Did he?
Who was he?
That's a problem.
It's good, and I spoke to you yesterday
Maybe
also.
he did something wrong. No, that's the only reason. I have 1 hour, and it already took 45 minutes now, so I've only a few minutes left.
Yeah. So what's your name, please?
I want to answer questions. I want to speak. I don't want to shout at people. So please
one
don't
question.
give me that.
Only one question. You arrived here. My guess is you arrived here by plane, right?
Yes.
Yes. It's lucky that the plane motor or the jet engine didn't melt by the jet fuel, right?
Yeah, it didn't.
Because it took more than an hour to get here by plane.
True.
Yeah, and 1 hour, World Trade Center, the beams melted by jet fuel.
Yeah, but it's a different
He's already
material.
stated
And
his
it's
opinion on this.
completely
No,
different.
no, it's
a completely
steel.
different process.
Steel.
You don't burn the kerosene in a jet engine like you do in a building. I mean, it's totally different.
Yeah, but it wasn't fuel propulsion.
I have to admit, I'm a politician, so. But I was trained as an engineer.
But you're an engineer.
I'm an engineer,
yeah,
a nuclear engineer. So I don't know everything about it, like you.
No.
What's your name, please?
Samson.
Samson. What more than Samson? What more than Samson?
May we see your identification?
He's from Holland. He's
Does somebody else want to go out?
You want to keep talking about the
Does privacy exist?
No. It should. But if you define privacy as the right to be left alone, which is sort of a definition of privacy, at the moment none of us have it.
No.
Nobody. So it's difficult to preserve it in a world where everybody watches each other. You watch me at the moment with that thing, and other people, and governments
You're
watch each other.
You're a public figure, though.
I'm a public figure. You are in a public place, but no. The problem is privacy. It's something that is precious, and we should preserve it. But at the same time, we all use technology that is intrusive privacy. We all use it, and now we need to find a balance. That's difficult.
We don't read your emails. We don't listen to your phone calls. We don't touch you at the airport.
I don't do that either.
No, but I'm talking you generally as part of a system that does it, right?
Yeah, I represent a system that does it.
Yes. How do you feel about
And you're part of a system that does it.
Unfortunately,
we don't want to be part of it anymore. I think it's a difficult discussion.
It's your system, it's not ours.
I mean, we need information about criminals, terrorists. Or don't you think you need that information?
You need to have direct suspicion.
That's not what I'm.
The terrorists are those who make the laws.
You can't have dragnet surveillance.
The constitutional laws that people have.
No, you shouldn't break laws.
They now have
Somebody breaks every day, all the time.
They have dragnet drone surveillance.
Because we make laws.
It's not difficult.
Maybe you have to blame me.
It's on plain paper. If you can read, you know it's against the law.
I make laws. I'm responsible for laws that allow secret agencies to look into stuff that you don't like. That's true. So you have to talk to me. Not secret agents.
They're just doing their job just like the Nazis. Yeah.
Well, I have a question.
I'm with a lot because every government does it.
Yeah, we're just doing our job. There's no excuse.
No, hold on. If a policeman here just he's not a Nazi.
He's still responsible for protection. No matter what.
Just watching them, I think they're doing a good job.
Is civil disobedience, is that a crime?
No.
No? No. But the thing is, when people they are disobeying...
I did it for 9 years in Greenpeace. Civil disobedience is part of democracy.
What made you stop?
But you have to do it. You have to have a few conditions, but two most important. One is non-violent. Always non-violent. If you do civil disobedience, don't use any violence. And take responsibility for your actions. If you do something that is not allowed, you get arrested, pay the fine, or whatever. That's the conditions.
But that's up to the policeman. That's up to the policeman to interpret.
Well, it's in the end up to the judge.
The bigger issue is who is behind 9/11, and that's what we want to discuss with you. We don't want to discuss it. The bigger question is who is behind 9/11? Who is really behind the Bilderberg? What is the agenda? That is what we really discuss.
I think you don't agree.
Okay, so Rich, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, you can.
Why can't you people just leave us the hell alone?
Why start you by laughing at me?
Because you mentioned Osama bin Laden. Osama bin Laden is an
I still want to answer your question.
He's a patsy.
Exactly. Who created Osama bin Laden? And I still want to answer.
The FBI and the CIA created Osama bin Laden to infect the Afghani militant Islamism in order to create problems for Russia. So Russia would then be forced to invade Afghanistan, and then you'd have a new situation. Just like when the CIA deposed and murdered Mossadi in Iraq. But why can't you just leave us alone? Why are we so damned important to you as debt slaves? Why are we so damned important for you to
mean now, literally, so that I should walk away now?
Why can't we have access to what's going on in there? Why are the 200 plus
Because not every building is accessible to everybody. If I want to go into that building on the 7th floor,
so
I can't go in.
So why don't you guys come out?
I come out.
What nationality are you?
Could you ask Anders Fogh Rasmussen to come out? Could you ask Anders Fogh Rasmussen to come out?
Ask anybody else something to do, because they don't ask me. They don't ask me to do something.
Why can't you go on the 7th floor? Why can't you go on the 7th floor? Sorry, can I ask what you're going to tell the Dutch people you talk about with the other Bilderbergers? What are you discussing? What are they discussing on the 7th floor?
Well, lots of things. Ukraine,
yeah.
Yesterday, Europe. Yesterday, this morning, privacy, the way intelligence services gather information about it.
So you're going to tell the Dutch people what you decided about that? Yeah?
Well,
what you decided?
We didn't decide it. We discussed it.
What was the
Sometimes you need to discuss things before deciding.
Sorry.
We only decide in Parliament.
Try again. Sorry, may you ask Rasmussen why the European boys, yes, I was there, yes, sorry, they died in American war in Afghanistan, and now NATO help Al-Qaeda in Syria. No Al-Qaeda, but the group close to Al-Qaeda. May you ask him, please, how is this problem?
I will ask him.
Thank you very much.
You made me curious.
Thank you very much. I detest the salt, eh? Be sure. But in any case, we can see
you
that.
have to take it. I mean, I'm not mine. It's not mine. It's yours. It's not mine. It's yours.
Could you do that for me?
Sorry.
Okay. No. There's floors to sleep on, and there's only one meeting room. Oh no, it was that room. I was just pointing at a back.
The law in Holland for a public elected person to meet sometimes
everybody does that. You do that. I do that.
I'm not like
sometimes in a discussion when you are somebody he doesn't like to be confrontational. And yet I want to know, do I go to that person? How does it know more about furnish? And then I come out and I'm responsible for everything I do myself. In person. Every member here is responsible for his own actions. I talk about what I do. I'm not. We agreed with each other. It's part of the rule that I just explained. We agreed with each other that I wouldn't say anything about what another person said. I'm only responsible for what I said and what I.
Do you think your fellow colleagues in there?
Well, that's Chatham House rules, as they call it. In a certain no, Chatham House. No, it's called Chatham House.
But it's a problem.
No, it's
excuse me.
It's a dilemma. It's not a problem in itself, but it's less transparent than you would want to.
Exactly.
But I you sometimes need it too.
But we are your boss. You're working for us.
Well, then you should impose a law that prevents me from going in.
Sir, I have a very
No. You are my boss, so you just told me.
Yeah,
so you can tell me which law I have to make. But first of all, you have to find a majority to take it.
Exactly, but that's the problem. It is the arrogance.
The problem with democracy is that you not always get what you want. Yeah, that's true.
Sir, I feel I have a better question. Sorry, but war, what does it help us?
Nothing.
Nothing. But why do we keep spending money on it?
What does it help it? It's still there.
But why do we keep spending money on it? Why? Why can't we use
Because we want to prevent war, and sometimes you need to be to have an army for that.
But you're talking about the entire world. You have the control over the world.
No. I don't have. I would like to, but I don't.
Your
have.
group? You would like to?
Yeah. I'm almost just. Well, wouldn't you like to?
No. No, sir.
Oh yeah, you were the one that didn't want.
So can't you use it more in a better way? Like instead of military, starts teaching people how to express themselves without violence. Do they actually need to kill people?
I had a long time in my former years that I believed that you were completely right.
Yeah.
And then Rwanda happened. And all our teaching and all what we did didn't help anything. There were 1 million people slaughtered in 2 months' time.
Yeah.
And I would love
we sent 3 million, 10 million.
I would have wanted that we could prevent that. And in order to prevent that, we needed to send people there with weapons to stop it.
You can stop it before
That's the most stupid things I ever heard.
I know how.
That's it.
I know how.
Thanks for that judgment.
What about thinking about psychology, every person's need? What if you're starting to fulfill them about people who need water, people who need shelter?
Maybe sometimes we fail in that. Sometimes we fail. Every day we fail.
All the money we actually waste on military instead of actually putting it to the people who needs it.
In a perfect world, I would completely agree with you, but the world isn't perfect.
Can't we make the world perfect?
Well, we try.
Yeah.
You try, I try.
So you in fact say that Bilderberg have influence?
Yes, of course I do.
Well,
but you do it on the wrong way.
Well, you think so?
Yeah, I think you all think that,
but not for the majority.
Yeah,
that's the problem.
You think so?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see. I can tell from the world.
But you can tell from the 5 minutes that you've met me.
No, not you personally. I know, of course.
But who's then you?
The list are changing year to year.
You're
here this year because somehow they.
Oh, you mean Bilderberg?
Bilderberg, yeah.
There's all kinds of different people at Bilderberg.
Yeah, every year. You're here this year because they have somehow decided that you are helpful in the plan this time.
really helpful.
You have to remember, Chinese
You're
money as strong as wicked.
Don't be their tool.
Coming closer into me. I don't mind. I don't mind, but we're very peaceful. I just tell you.
We're not dangerous, man.
We are very peaceful.
Yes, yesterday you were talking about aging, depopulation. I thought it sounded like eugenics. Can you explain again?
Well, it was just a discussion about the fact that, for instance, in Denmark and in the Netherlands, but also in loads of other Western, and also China and Japan, people get older every year. Life expectancy rises, which is a good thing because it has to do with health and welfare, etc. But it also poses some problems for society as a whole. And politicians are appointed, are elected to solve those problems. Pensions, the fact that we have a smaller workforce and more retired people, the fact that we have less children and more retired people. It's not a problem, but it's a challenge for society to adapt. And we need to adapt in order to face that challenge. That was the only discussion.
Through immigration?
Well, immigration would be a solution or part of a solution for that, but not everybody agrees.
European culture is even more.
You
want to dilute the European culture and create multicultural.
I like a diverse society, yes. But I know there's people that don't like it.
I'm not saying I don't like other cultures.
It's the government's job to take care of citizens.
Sorry?
It's the government's sole purpose to take care of its citizens.
It should be.
And how do we actually actualize that?
Well, by voting as a way if we don't. So every 4 years you have the chance to say, well, you are not acting in the general interest, you go away.
You think that's been successful so far?
Well, it's the best system we have, with loads of flaws and loads of mistakes, but I haven't found a better system yet.
Well, maybe we can actually do it
the human way.
No, maybe we can actually say, okay, we all get in there at one point. I've heard about systems who have tried that.
You mean all together? Yeah, we already discussed direct democracy. Yeah. So we're going to stand on a parking lot and we just decided that climate change is a hoax.
Not like that.
That was basically the
No, the climate has always changed. The climate has always changed.
It's not man-made.
You just try to make CO2 to a new goal.
I will be more precise. Man-made global warming is a hoax, according to you. I don't agree with you, but I'm a very small minority here.
I just think the discourse changed from talking about global warming to climate change. That was a peculiar change in discourse. I'm quite sure that there's people like you and others who found out that your scam was perhaps not going so well with that.
Well, I'm starting to talk about something. Let's try to agree on something. I'm starting to talk about something else, a new energy future. I mean, even if man-made global climate change would be a hoax, oil and gas, we're running out of it. So we have to find new ways to produce our energy. Do you agree?
Yeah.
Well, then we can start working, because that's actually the only way we can act on climate change.
The best ways to open up the market, free markets compete each other to make a profit from the best energy source that provides the most energy for the less.
Sometimes it's a solution, but you have to be careful with it. But it's part of the solution. We saw it with Chinese solar panels. A market was opened up between China and the rest of the world, and solar energy became a lot cheaper. So sometimes market mechanisms work.
If governments are working with companies and they're doing favors and doing back-door deals with certain corporations and not others, then it closes up the market.
That was not what we were discussing.
But
we were discussing something
if that happens, right, that's
then
not
something goes wrong.
Progress, because it's going to stagnate the market.
And if a government
develop the price.
But if a government does that, you are allowed to send that government away.
I hope so.
If it's a democratic government, then they'll be back to
That's the problem. It's not democracy.
What about capitalism? Can we do something about it? Like, for example, make a limit on how much
we have to.
a single person
I'm a social
okay,
democrat. I sincerely believe that
you have to. Can you let me talk finish, please?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Well, what if